Hello, everybody, and welcome to the only podcast that managed to skip the death of the Queen and the new PM. It's the PodCats. Round of applause.
There's only like two others over here. It's not much of a round of applause.
It's definitely not a round of applause if only one of us claps, John.
I was
fucking
clapping.
point.
There were at least two people clapping. But how many people do you need to have a round?
Oh,
surely three.
Come in on Discord.
There's got to be three people, all three of us. If we all clap, it's a round.
Daniel, you clap.
There, that was a round. At the end, there was definitely three people.
All right.
There we go.
Yeah, your clapping doesn't come through on Discord, John. See, Discord's a piece of shit. I'm saying this for the podcast. When we start recording, piece of shit. Doesn't pick up John's aggressive anti-royalist clapping. As we
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the PodCats. Well, the only podcast that didn't talk about the death of the Queen or the new Prime Minister. What an opening! Round of applause, everybody! Wow!
This is also literally the only episode we've done since those things, and you've already acknowledged both of them. So,
yeah, I know. I had to. You know, I felt like you.
I want to mention, by the way, at this point, we mentioned this beforehand, but the podcast has now been through 4 consecutive.
It's true.
We
went to Jake, we started on to Cameron.
We started pre-Brexit. Those were the days, weren't they?
Actually, hang on. I've just a thought. Are they serving progressively shorter times?
Yeah.
Was Boris's tenure shorter than May's?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think it might have been slightly longer.
I mean, Truss will be out before this goes up.
No, I literally went to check this the other night. The shortest term Prime Minister in British history right now is 119 days. It was like back in the 19th century, the guy just died of old age. He made it 4 months. I think Truss can beat that. I'm not sure she's going to die, but I think she's going to be got rid of somehow or another within 4 months.
I think she'll be gone by the end of the year. Legitimately.
I'm not sure. I think she's going to set a new record. We're going for a new record. We are speedrunning the collapse of the government in the UK right now. All right, it's a new category in Awesome Games Done Quick.
Sorry, if you look at the chart of like British Prime Ministers, you just see at the end them just getting short. Yeah, I think Boris Johnson was either. I think they were about the same. I think I remember at the time when everyone was saying Boris should resign, there being a big thing about he probably doesn't want to resign with less days than Theresa May, and I think he let it just tick over, and I think he just had like a week longer or something.
Okay, so let's just annoy him if he's listening, in case he is a listener of the podcast, by saying it's basically the same.
Oh well, that'll definitely. Oh wow,
yeah, that'll piss you off, Boris.
Old Alexander de Peffel, I'll show him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a sub. To the rest of it, I've just looked up past prime ministers because I was like, have I literally since I started my career been under Tory PMs? And yeah, Cameron was 2010, so I've been doing it since then. Yeah. So that was when Cameron was in charge. Fucking joy. But as soon as it hits the 20th century with Blair, all the photos go black and white. Look, I don't know. There's just pictures.
They definitely didn't. I distinctly have seen photos of Tony Blair in colour before.
Yeah, I know. It's weird that like before 2007, the gov.uk website's like, nah, that probably didn't have colour. The 17-year-old that runs the website's like, nah. It's like, so I was born under Thatcher. You were born under, I'm assuming John Major, Matt. John, I don't know about you. I'm assuming it was like.
I was born under. There was a brief period of turbulence at the end of the 19th century.
Churchill.
Where there were competing prime ministers. It was so it depends how you count it.
Okay, Henry Campbell Bannerman.
No. John was under Chamberlain. That's the thing. He was under Chamberlain.
I was the first baby born in the NHS.
John's NHS number is 1.
I'm NHS number 000001. That's me right now. The first baby born in the first NHS hospital.
Actually, technically, I was born under Albert Reynolds.
You made that one up.
No, he was Taoiseach. He was Irish Taoiseach.
Because of course, that's not what what I thought for a second then was that there was a prime minister who somehow managed to erase himself from time. And I'll be perfectly honest, if there's a way to do that, Liz Truss is definitely going to try it to erase these past 3 weeks.
I mean, if we can, in some way or another, invent some form of thing where we whack it with a hammer and it resets time to somewhere around 2010, I think it's worth a go. I think we should definitely do a do-over of the last 10 odd years.
I mean,
really, there's something poetic, right, about Boris Johnson resigning, Liz Truss taking over, and then a week week later, the Queen dying, and then a week after that, the pound falling to its lowest. Like, it's the most extreme reaction I've ever seen.
It was like
instantly.
Like 2 days after Liz Truss met the Queen fucking pops a clogs and was like, we're fucked.
Fucking poetic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
and then Liz Truss just pops up and says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take all the bankers. I'm going to give you your bonuses. I'm going to give you a giant pay cut. And the bankers respond by saying, oh, fuck it. We hate this. No, we can't stand it. Get out and bad to the country.
No, my favourite thing is just that video that circulated the day before the Queen died of Liz Truss going, well, I don't like the Queen. I don't think she should be in Paris.
It could just be an incredible long game. Of course, we do have video of Liz Truss as a student saying, I'm a Lib Dem and I hate the Queen. Hate the Queen, hate Tories. It's taken her a long time. It has been a deep cover infiltration mission.
No, but John, I don't think you understand, right? Her schooling was really, really bad, right? And she doesn't want that to happen again because, of course, she did go to school under Thatcher. Which she
Thatcher was a bitch of a geography teacher.
This is English, and this is English, and this is English, and all of this is English.
See that little island there by Argentina? Ours.
All of this land, all wasteland, all of that, all of those.
Get to the Falkland Islands, assuming you're not invading it.
Probably
like a tiny airstrip or something, right?
No, it's only sheep that live there, isn't it? It's just 8 sheep.
No, but you surely can't get a big plane there. So what, do you have to get a big plane to Brazil? Presumably not Argentina. That might be a bit sniffy, and then get a shorter small plane to a small airstrip.
Most small countries like that will have usually a lot of ships will go to them.
They're a really long way away from the nearest major body land. So surely you don't need to go on a boat. You must be able to get to the Falklands in a way that's more convenient than a boat.
Have you heard about the whole bombing raid that the British did on the Falklands during the Falklands War and how ridiculous that had to be?
Well, I assume they had aircraft carriers, which made it easier, but I personally don't possess an aircraft carrier, which makes me hopping over there much. And also, I don't own an aircraft, so there are reasons I can't do the same thing.
John, at the time, they didn't have any long-range bombers at all.
Yeah, but they got okay. I'm not an expert on modern warfare. Ancient warfare, yes. Modern warfare, no. But if you've got a boat that's long enough to be a runway, which is what I understand an aircraft carrier is, then you don't need long-range bombers. You just park the boat nearby, and the planes go off that.
They're not long enough to be runways, John. They literally have catapults attached to them to ping the planes off.
That's functionally the same thing.
That's not the same thing, John. That is definitely not. If you know how to fly a plane, right? If you know how to fly a plane,
I don't. So this conversation's gone to a terrible start.
Knowing you, very true. I guessed you wouldn't know how to fly a plane, but I feel like taking off and using your aircraft's own engine and motor stuff is very different from just being catapulted. Imagine if your first driving lesson they just loaded you into a trebuchet. And they're like, all right, check your mirrors, and then it would be a different kind of vibe.
Well, here's the thing, John, as well, you got to understand. Especially then, right, they did have a couple of aircraft carriers, but they only had interceptors and fighters on. They can't really do bombings on it. They need a proper big bomber, right?
Falklands has 2 airports, just to let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I am on the Falklands' own page for their tourist board, and
here we go, another Englishman going onto the Falklands territory.
It does feel like, yes, they do enjoy their flights going to Chile. Though actually, one of them is mentioned Argentina, so they're just flying flights in and out of Argentina. You got to think there's going to be some sniffy looks at the border, the passport control there.
Well, so Operation Black Book, which is Black Book.
That's where we dropped Dylan Moran on all of them.
Genuinely, I did a double take there.
10 Quid says they're incredibly petty. They don't let you pass passport control unless you agree to, say, if you say, oh, where are you going? Say, going to Falklands. I don't know what that is. You're going to have to be, I'm going to Las Malvinas, all right? Can I go past now?
The closest airport they could take off from was in the Ascension Island, which is on the equator. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the Falklands is near Antarctica, which is quite a lot further away. So
I'm guessing there's no airports in Antarctica.
No, not at the time. At the time, because none of the aircraft had a long enough range, they sent out a squad of 30 aircraft. And they did this ridiculous dance where they all kept refueling each other until they had one left that still had fuel.
Hang on, if you're refueling each other, why don't you just refuel yourselves or use the fuel you're carrying on your own plane?
How did they get back? Were these planes dropping out of the
if
sky?
You've got two planes and both of them have got the fuel to fuel each other, or they're going around in a big fueling circle, why don't you just use the fuel you're carrying in your own plane?
It was a very there's a complicated logistical.
You don't know.
There's some fascinating.
You have
things
no
about
fucking clue.
Well, I don't exactly remember the very specific details of this very old operation.
Well, then you maybe shouldn't have started telling this story if you've no fucking clue what it means.
I just think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting thing about how bad the British were at the time. They're like, oh shit, we're being invaded. What do we do? Oh, we don't have any
We form a
planes.
giant petrol circle jerk in the sky.
Genuinely,
apparently.
you joke, but yeah. Like,
I like the fact their airport's called Mount Pleasant Airport. That's nice.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
that is lovely.
All the sheep.
That's really nice. I mean, the Falklands, they're very flat, aren't they, the Falklands? It's a very
I
flat
thought you were
island.
about to say airports. I was like, yeah, there's a reason for that, John.
It's a good island for an airport. Like, you know, if it was more mountainous, it would be more difficult. Like, this was not a difficult island to slap down an airport on, though. It looks so flat. You gotta think they're gonna be concerned there about rising sea levels. Like, another meter, that entire island just goes overnight.
I mean, this is Thatcher's ultimate victory, isn't it? It's Thatcher's. If the Argentinian games, we'll just wang up the coal usage. We'll get rid of all those pesky green things and drown. That's the plan.
That's the long con, like, ultimate epic battle simulator fucking
That's the plan.
Tsunami clip. Fucking Thatcher's there being like, yeah, fucking like rolling on a grave.
Yeah, and then all we're left with on the Earth is like...
Wait, how did we get to this again? Where the fuck did we start?
You didn't understand what a runway was twice in the same podcast.
Also Liz Truss, which, you know...
Oh, stop saying that name. By the time this goes up, it'll be...
Okay,
Have you seen Labour?
Despite
33
Daniel's
points
flippancy.
the lead. 33 points. There was a poll estimate by fucking YouGov that said that if we went to an election, like in the fucking 2 years or something, the Conservatives would be left with just 2 seats. Two!
Where were the two? I'd like to know which 2 seats are the safe ones.
It looks like whenever we go to an election, it's going to be a massive landslide for Keir Starmer, bigger than even Blair's. That's what we're looking at now.
So over the last weekend, right, the Labour Party conference were in Liverpool, about 20 minutes from my house.
Yes, you were there dressed in reds.
Yep, accidentally.
Goddamn
well, not
fanboy.
accidentally. I intended to wear red, but I just didn't really think about the fact I was wearing red.
You're doing political party cosplay, you wanker.
But I kind of, when I was walking around, there was this energy. You could kind of tell us more, go, yeah, we fucking got this. You could feel everyone wanking. I'm just like walking past the fucking convention center. I can just smell cum. Just everyone's fucking wanking,
Yeah, I mean, they're mostly old men, so that's probably why.
I did get a lot of leaflets.
Good for you.
I got given a lot of leaflets.
Good for you.
A lot about just be more green and where's our proportional representation, which they're doing now. That's a big deal.
No, they're not.
That's a huge deal.
No,
Did you
they're
hear
not.
that?
They voted for it, but they don't have to actually make that a policy.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
They do.
Keir Starmer said no.
They voted. They voted that it has to be in the next manifesto.
Yeah, but Keir Starmer said no.
Are you sure about
Keir
that? Because I
Starmer
read twice that Keir Starmer could just say fuck it and not bother.
So I was saying.
Keir Starmer personally doesn't want it, but he said several times that if the party vote for it, he will do it. And the vote is to put it in the manifesto.
Ooh.
I like a manifesto.
So it's a big deal. Now, there's obviously the point, obviously, manifestos, he could put it in his manifesto, then just, not do it.
Classic politics.
That's happened before, obviously, but it's a big...
I mean, this could be a really fun election, because if this election is that in the bag for one of the parties, then potentially they can just put all the wild shit they've always wanted to put in, just in one go. Just like, okay, abolish the House of Lords, replace it with the House of Llamas. It's now going to be a llama petting zoo. We can all pet llamas in the House of Lords.
I mean, they have said they're going to get rid of the House of Lords, John.
Yeah.
Is it going to be replaced with the House of Llamas, though?
No,
what's the fucking point?
It's going to become a House of Frasier.
No, they went bankrupt.
Oh, did they? I wouldn't fucking know.
They've been gone years, right? Dad.
I went and bought clothes for the first time today in fucking years because I've finally lost so much weight, nothing fits. I've gone from a size 42 waist to a 36.
Oh, wow, look at you, Mr.
Yeah, I know.
Boy.
I'm just a bit of a fat guy, to be perfectly honest, in initial ways. But, it's fine. I feel good. I feel better. But I think what's it? Great British Energy. That was his other one. He's gonna have a Great British fucking energy company.
Yeah. The biggest wind turbine in the world, just one giant one. So huge that when, on a particular time of day, the entire south of England will be in shade. It's going to be like Mr. Burns' sunblocker, but environmental.
John, they never build anything in the north. It would be in the north, not casting a shadow. It'd be casting a shadow on the north. Like, let's just put it that way. And also say, have you seen
that way everyone gets a bit of shade depending on what time of day it is.
What they said they're going to do.
Replace one of the towns no one really cares about, like Loughborough or Derby, with the world's biggest wind turbine.
Yeah.
Oh, replace Wigan, please. Replace Wigan. Please, Lord.
Bolton.
Please, God, replace
Bolton.
Wigan.
No, get rid of Luca
Bolton
Baruga
for anything.
Get rid of Luca
There's a bunch of
Baruga,
places.
put the giant one in. But have you seen how they're going to power it? They said they're going to put Liz Truss on one of the rotor blades, and she's just going to talk in one direction about how this is actually good for the country and how the pound collapsing is great.
But if you've seen her speak, her speaking is like a stuttering laptop. You don't want to have anything powered by that.
You know, it's going to be incredibly inconsistent. It's going to be like, I don't like it. And then there's going to be this long pause where we're not going to be generating power. We're going to be like, Liz, get on with it.
There's this terrifyingly large pause.
And then everyone's going to awkwardly start clapping so she'll say something.
My best thing about all
she'll...
these clips that were doing the rounds just like the other day was like, it wasn't like this was one interview. She had one car crash interview, then got the car to the next one, and the exact same thing happened. Like she at no point during the car ride between the two thought, you know what? Maybe we should have a think about what my answer's going to be. When the next guy asked the exact question I was just asked to completely fuck up. Like, no, I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to keep sending in more trains.
Yeah, I think it's because I watched her speech and I was like, this reminds me of something. What is this sort of like little bit talking pause? And I was like, oh, I remember. It's like when you used to stream porn on dial-up. And you'd get like a little bit of the story and then it would freeze you. You're like, come on, I'm here for a reason. And you never actually got to the end of it. That's what it reminded me of.
And if you did get to the end of it, it wouldn't really resolve the story.
Yeah.
You know, they just like give up at the
they
end.
Do.
You know,
It's so
you
annoying.
could have just
Porn
used
rights,
any reference to any form of online video pre the YouTube era. It was all like that, like web serials like that too. But you went straight to the porn, didn't ya?
Yes, I did, because Liz Truss makes me a horny boy.
Well, that's the end of the podcast. Good night, everybody. I mean, full stop. This is it. That's the end of the podcast. We're cancelling it. That's the last word.
I cannot be the only person who is sexually aroused by the death of the Conservative Party. It cannot just be me, and that's what she represents.
No, but there's this thing with it, right? In that, there's something incredibly pleasurable about just watching her flan and listening to all those interviews where every single person is like, everyone's like, what the fuck? There is no one in the world. I have not heard anyone defend her.
You know what she is?
Like random
you know what she is? She's the third supply teacher they called. That's what she is.
That's fair.
But this is the problem, right?
I once had a terrible French teacher who started crying during most lessons. And I feel like Liz Truss... I think if Liz Truss was a teacher, she'd be the one who'd start crying halfway through the lessons.
But this is the problem. She's doing all that, right? And it's fun with listening to interviews, and it's fun watching all the polls, but she's kind of doing it simultaneously while destroying the country, which is like...
And she does get to keep destroying the country for the next 2 years, and if she knows she's going to lose the election, she's kind of got no reason not to just go as extreme as she fucking wants.
Yeah,
but...
I mean, it's not even been a month now. It's not even been a month yet, the Queen's dead and the pound's destroyed. What's she going to do in fucking another 23? Like...
She could hook up with that finance guy who does all the things. I can't remember his name. Whatever his name is.
Oh, no, she already has.
No, it was Amber Heard, wasn't it?
What?
Amber Rudd. One of them.
No.
Yes, that's what confused Amber Rudd and Amber Heard.
They're basically the same person. I don't like either of them.
Kwasi and Liz, genuinely, because they wrote that book together years ago, and there's a lot of very substantial rumours from years and years ago that they've been having a limp financial relationship.
What, you mean a weak pound?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just wondering whether this is going to get out of hand in the sense of they're just going to have to keep coming up with stuff to distract from the old stuff. Like, everyone was babbling on about energy prices. And I thought, okay, what if we fucking break the entire UK interest rates and finances, so everyone's going to start talking about their mortgages. Okay, now no one's talking about the fucking energy anymore. Thank God everyone's talking about the fact there's going to be a giant housing crash that's going to destroy the country and £1 trillion of unsecured pension funds are about to crash. Oh, thank God. Yeah, but what about that? Oh, shit, now they're talking about that. Okay, we need to come up with something even worse so people stop talking about that now. And it's just going to keep doing that every month. Every month she needs to come up with something worse.
No, but when do you think she's going to commit arson? Because I feel at some point she's going to, like, set Parliament on fire and be like, oh no! Oh my God!
I like the idea
money.
that she's watched TV and she's watched, like, Bart pull the fire drill, but hasn't worked out you don't actually have to start a fire first. So when trying to get out of a Prime Minister's question time, she just fucking lights the, 100-year-old building on fire. And it all goes to shit. And it'll be, be good. I'd watch it. I'd live stream that.
I mean, yeah.
You know what? Going back to what we were discussing earlier, I think I know what she's going to do next when she needs like an ultimate level of extra distraction to distract from the other stuff she's already fucked up.
Oh, God.
She's going to invade Argentina. It's the only logical thing she can do. Like a fucked up, nonsensical variant of something Thatcher did. Yeah. Like, it makes sense. It probably makes sense if you're Liz Truss.
Actually, no,
you've got Liz Truss's brain in your head.
You know what she should
invade Argentina.
No, not Argentina. Argentina's been done. Thatcher did that one. She should pick another little island nation and be like, yeah, we'll have that. Imagine the fucking
another
hilarity.
Little island nation.
Little one.
You are really wow. Where do you think Argentina is?
I meant, the Falklands bit. This was the thing that happened, and then Argentina did more. But I think actually she should go over somewhere
Canary
else.
Islands.
Canary Islands.
We've got some beef with them over Gibraltar and shit.
Right,
let's fucking invade the Canaries. At least then we get somewhere nice to go on holiday out of it.
Let's go to war with Spain.
No, John, Taiwan. Just invade Taiwan. No one will see it coming. We'll take them fuckers out immediately. Take over Taiwan and try to be like...
That's true. All their guns are going to be pointing in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
If we just come from, like, the not China... Yeah, exactly. That's fucking genius.
It's fucking genius.
That's the thing. She'll do it and she'll be like, I'm doing it to protect Ukraine.
Yeah,
she will. She'll be like, no.
Look, I'm telling you, if we want to take over any islands, it's
Let's
the Canary
annex
Islands.
the Crimea!
The Canary Islands are going to be completely unguarded. No one's guarding that, and we get somewhere nice to go on holiday out of it. Okay?
We can't. Well, yeah, you fuckers can't go there visa free anymore. Fucking Brexit boys. Hey, wankers.
I will say two things. One, I'm glad we got the politics out of the way early. But two, I think we should edit this podcast so we start the podcast again from the start, mention that we recorded all this politics stuff, and then put it at the end so we don't scare everybody off.
No, that sounds like
I love
work.
Scaring people.
Because I probably shouldn't have shouted, let's annex the Crimea again.
Okay, but, okay, one thing we do have to cover. Uh-huh. Despite Daniel's flippancy at the start, we do need to acknowledge a very significant death has just occurred.
No, you're right. No, I know exactly what you're referring to.
We need to acknowledge this and have just a moment to reflect the sad loss of Google Stadia.
Aww.
Stupid fuckers. They were pretending it was healthy as recently as a month ago.
No. Excuse me. They were pretending it was healthy yesterday, about an hour or two before the fucking news happened, when they announced loads of games that were coming to it.
Yeah.
That's very Google, though, isn't it?
I will say,
Google in a nutshell.
No, they had some serious fucking competition, though. Like, because they launched at the worst possible time. Like, it was a games console that wasn't really a games console, so, you didn't have to pay for any expensive hardware and stuff. And that was a really bad time because all the hardware was expensive and you couldn't get a hold of other consoles. No, actually, that's a great time for them to launch. But also there was a global pandemic, which meant that everybody was home in need of something to do. But how did they fuck it up, is what I want to say. Actually, I know how they fucked it up. At the very start when they went, oh, you have to buy the games full price.
Yeah.
That's when they fucked it up.
Xbox do the same thing. You just pay for Game Pass Ultimate and you get the cloud streaming with all the games.
Yeah.
I think this is going to do a lot of damage to the next person who wants to do something similar, but, better. Because, on this occasion, I need to double check precisely how thorough this is. I was saying that it was looking like they were going to refund, everybody everything, which I'm not convinced I necessarily believe. I need to double check that's definitely everybody.
I'm pretty sure that's what they've said. but it might just be Google Play vouchers, and then you might have like $1.50
The next company that does this might not, and then you've just spent all your money, and now your game's just gone.
Just two things quickly, by the way. I went on to killbygoogle.com, and 3 more products have been killed since Stadia.
Oh, amazing. What else got killed when we were talking about Stadia?
Something called Google Current, something called Controversial Actions, which is something about Google Assistant, third-party integration in Google Assistant, and Google Cloud IoT Core. Irrelevant ones, but 3 more since Stadia.
I mean, it's nice that Google has killed Controversial Actions. That sounds like a sort of thing you should definitely kill. Now they're going to just be way nicer.
I was always annoyed at Stadia, specifically because NVIDIA were doing Stadia before Stadia, years earlier, better. Because with NVIDIA's thing, you buy the games in the same way, and you buy a subscription to the cloud service, right? Mm-hmm. And you play them via NVIDIA's cloud service. The difference is, they give you a Steam key! Like, when you buy the game, you get it on their service, and they give you a Steam key. So you own it, but you also get it on their service. It's like a win-win.
I will say that as much as they're refunding everybody,
if they are.
Well, they are. They've said they're going to refund people. I don't know how they're refunding people. They're going to get you some sort of financial compensation. What about the developers who have been making games or porting things?
No. Sorry, they've specifically said they're refunding all Stadia purchases, hardware, software, and DLC. Everything.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know how that money is coming back to people. It, again, might just be Google Play currency, because if you get £1,500 worth of Google Play currency, they lose nothing,
Only purchased through the Google Store.
Yeah. Because,
was there any other way to buy stuff for Stadia anyway?
You can't buy it in any other way.
No, but when I say... Because that's hardware. Like, if you bought a Stadia controller, they're refunding it even.
Yeah. But... Again, what about the developers who are making games right now for Stadia, or who have been making games, there's a guy who made a game I was looking at on Twitter who is 2 days away from launch and wasn't told. There's people whose games are coming out in November.
If he got the money to raise, if he got the money up front and now he's just released from the contract, he could now just port it to something much better.
No, yeah, I get the feeling that like every Stadia game, pretty much, Google's just giving them a bunch of money to make the game, and I imagine all of those contracts are still...
I cannot explicitly state just how many tens of millions it costs for the big AAA games. They shat money into Stadia like you wouldn't believe. Like it was over $10 million for Red Dead Redemption 2 to come to Stadia.
But I'm fascinated by the fact they spent that much money, right? And now they're not just going, we're stopping it. They're going, hey, every penny we've ever made from this project, we're giving back.
Which is why I'm incredibly suspicious as to what form and how that'll work.
If it comes out as its play credit, they lose nothing from it. You just get an access to a thing. Financially they lose nothing. So, but I mean, there's also stuff like there were exclusive games on there. Guilt, one of the first games on there, it's gone. You cannot buy that now. Today, that game went away forever. That's gone.
Who owns the rights to it? Who developed it?
I don't know. I assume the people who made it, but also...
I imagine exclusivity contracts will just be null and void for it.
I would not imagine anything when it comes to exclusivity contracts with a massive corporation such as Google.
I mean, this is happening a lot with animation on the streaming services right now.
Yeah, or anything on
where
HBO.
they're just being basically just snapped out of existence, and they just now are gone.
Final Space, wasn't it? That one's called Final Space.
Oh, yeah.
That was just gone, just stuck in the void forever.
These rights, I was trying to, because I looked into, when Apple Arcade came out and they had loads of exclusive games on.
Yeah.
I spoke to some developers who made stuff for Apple Arcade, and every single contract, as far as I can tell, for Apple Arcade is a timed exclusive.
Yeah.
Every single one. They're all timed. And I don't know if that's the case for Stadia games. I don't know. Google... The way Google operates is just throw shit at the wall and no one knows anything.
Yeah.
I'm sure in the coming days, stories will start emerging about
100%.
what the contracts look like and what happens next.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure people are going to say, fuck it, who cares,
We'll see if any staff were told ahead of time and all that sort of stuff. I doubt it.
100% that, no. There's 100% they was going about their day and some random Google exec just came, what the fuck? Oh.
Who left their phone on during the extremely professional PodCats?
I went to open Safari just to look up that, and instead it opened TikTok, and it is a video of Liz Truss.
Wow.
being remixed. That was what the sound was there, if you want to know what that was.
Wow. What's
Excellent.
Safari?
It's the web browser.
I
Oh.
remember Safari.
Isn't that where you
Still
had
around,
to
is
throw
it?
rocks to catch the Pokemon?
Sure.
That was a stretch.
The
Sure,
Safari
yeah.
Zone? Fuck you, I hated that
Yeah,
fucking bit of that
yeah.
fucking game. And throw rocks
Yeah.
at the Pokemon. What? It was like a game where you sort of ethically, morally a little bit dubious, and then
Well,
suddenly
you could just
fucking
throw
rocks
the
at their
food
faces.
instead if you just wanted to throw the treat. You didn't have to throw
You
the
had to
rocks.
throw a certain combination. I mean, the last Pokemon I ever caught in
No,
Pokemon
you
Red
didn't.
was
It
a
just
Tauros.
affected the probability. Like Tauros and Dratini, you didn't have to throw the rocks. You could just
Tauros
throw
was
the
the last
balls.
Pokemon I caught.
Look, if you decided to walk into a safari and decide, you know what, I've got rocks by my feet, so I'm gonna fucking lob a rock at that endangered bull over there, that's on you.
I've got an
Okay? That's
idea.
you that's a fucking monster.
I've got an idea. It involves a road trip to Longleat. I think we should have a go. And we should see.
In fact, the rarest Pokemon you definitely didn't want to rock because they would run away at the slightest provocation. You just wanted to start balling them. Like, as soon as possible.
Sorry, a bunch of news came out 3 hours ago about Stadia. A big
Oh, good.
load of
Tell
news.
me
Oh,
some
fuck,
facts.
yeah, we should... Well, I was about to say this is breaking news, but no, because this won't come out for like several days. So this is going to be incredibly late news.
No, this one is specifically that Stadia cancelled. Originally, they were going to do the Death Stranding sequel exclusive on Stadia, and they cancelled it.
Wow, okay.
They turned
What?
it down, Death Stranding 2.
I mean, a bunch of devs probably made some good bank off this, because they just basically must have got paid a fuck ton of money by Google, and all they need to do is make a game, put it on Stadia where no one will ever play it, so it's not like it matters, you know, it's not like it's going to be a mark against your name if it's a terrible game, because no one played it one way or the other, so no one knows. So then you just basically walk away with a giant pile of money, develop a better game for somewhere else.
Genuinely, everyone gets annoyed at these exclusivity contracts, but like Epic and like Apple Arcade exclusivity, for example, and I'm assuming Stadia exclusivity is something similar where it's timed. It's just a big load of money. They get to make a game that they might not otherwise. Usually very good single-player games. Maybe not for Stadia, but usually they're all single-player focused games from smaller studios. They get a big whack of money, and then a year later they have a normal release like they would on every other platform, and big hype, and they've got the money, and they've got the sales to back it up, and they've wrinkled out all the bugs.
Yeah, if anything,
And
yeah,
it's
you
usually
get
better.
the early, slightly dubious early access 0.1 version on Epic or whatever, and by the time it's actually, you know, polished and nice and complete, it's ready for Steam.
I mean, if we want to talk about early access 0.1
Wait,
versions on
wait,
Epic, we
wait.
can talk about Saints Row at this point.
Wait. So, the next Death Stranding... I'm reading this on IGN. The next Death Stranding would not have had the first game's collaborative and asynchronous multiplayer features, such as building bridges, roads, etc., etc. And
Wasn't that what everyone liked?
that was the reason that Google decided to cancel the game, as the company believed that a solo experience wouldn't sell very well. A solo experience wouldn't... 1 million people... 1 million people were concurrently playing Cyberpunk this week.
Man.
Do you know who made that decision? Oh, here we go again. It's his fucking name. The final decision was made by Stadia general manager Phil Harrison. Because
God, he's a fucking idiot, he must be, wasn't he?
what? Phil Harrison, who launched the PS3, which was so disastrous that it took Sony's massive lead from the PS2 off, and then moved over to
that was
Xbox
him.
to launch the
Fucking hell.
Xbox One, which was a massive failure and got rid of all of their Xbox 360 goodwill with all of its fucking DRM and bullshit, and then moved over to Stadia.
Wait, really? Hang on,
Yes,
really?
that's
Is
Phil
this guy
Harrison.
already-
That is a man who is
literally-
failing upwards. That's some proper failing upwards right
I mean,
there. That's
Sony,
great.
Microsoft, Google, technically yes, but in the world of the games industry, he's falling down. That's not the order you
This
want to
man
do it in.
needs to go over to Nintendo for whatever's about to come after the Switch.
Yeah.
Oh my
Because
god.
the Nintendo pendulum is due for its disaster. We need the Nintendo disaster generation next, before they
Sorry.
bounce back the generation after that.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what else he fucked up? Atari!
Oh yeah, of course, he took over Atari when it started to go to shit.
In 2008, he announced that the new director was him. He gave an interview which he predicted single-player games were to become increasingly rare as consumers wanted network connectivity and community.
Send him to
And then
Nintendo.
he became
director
Tell him
of
to
Atari.
make the Switch U. Tell him to do it. I demand a Switch
Excuse
U.
me, it's called the Switch. That's what it's called. Just put the
Wait,
word Wii
the
in the word
Switcheroo.
Switch.
The Switcheroo. That's what the new Switch should be called. Like the switcheroo, but with like a 2 written into the font somehow, but it's not pronounced just to confuse the fuck out of people.
Oh God!
How does someone like this keep getting jobs?
I don't know. He literally does not know what people want from video games because he focuses on the wrong thing every time. And his focus he likes to dig in with is, I mean, with the Xbox, it was like, let's talk about loads of TV shit. And people were like, no, we just want to play games. And with the PS3, it's like, look at all these extra features that cost £1 trillion and it's got a weird core and weird processors for DRM. And everyone's like, no, we just want to play games. And with the Stadia, he was like, we're going to really focus on the hardcore experience. We're not going to push this much simpler way of getting access to these games for like sort of in a broader appeal, because people who don't really play games, they won't mind a bit of lag or a bit of, image degradation. That's kind of how they'll see that the games work. No one cared that the Wii had terrible graphics. It worked fine, but he really pushed it towards this hardcore demographic, and people who play first-person shooters and fighting games and shit don't want to have their controller input sent to a server in a different country to then have the image sent back to them. So he's just the worst at pointing the things. He just doesn't understand gaming.
Can we maybe weaponize this man to destroy things that we want to be destroyed? Send him into blockchain and NFT games so that he can absolutely destroy them beyond measure.
That's destroying itself, John. I mean, that's taken care of, honestly.
It is mostly taking care of itself. But we could send him to be, say, the new Prime Minister when Liz Truss falls.
I mean, would he be worse, though? That's the question, is would he be actually worse? Could you be worse? That's the thing. I mean, probably, yeah. But, I don't know.
We were saying this about Boris Johnson, and here we cocking are.
Yeah, but because Boris Johnson was scraping through the barrel, Liz Truss is something they found underneath the ship, and now there's loads of fucking water pouring in.
Yeah, but you know what's underneath the barrel? Bowl. That's the point where you lift up the hatch, and now you're down in the sewer where the shit is. Okay? There's always lower. There's always fucking lower.
Everyone, Boris Johnson was out, and everyone was like, hey, and I'm like, it's there's only down.
Yeah, but
you're just cycling on the street, and then you see him, you see Phil Harrison just there sticking out, just his head sticking out the storm drain, luring you into the sewer.
It's interesting, isn't it, that Sony and Microsoft are doing well now. Sony with the very, very expensive, very good single-player, very refined titles, and Microsoft with their many, many smaller single-player games on a subscription service.
Yeah, and Game Pass in general is just doing very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all single-player shit. All of it.
Oh, yeah. The two most anticipated games of this year, God of War, Elden Ring.
Yeah, and fucking Stray, which came out of nowhere, which even a lot of casual gamers are playing, in inverted commas. That's a really single-player, solid, insular thing.
I did not like it. But we'll ignore
Me neither.
I enjoyed it.
Well,
it was fun.
So here's this thing. This is where me, Daniel, and John differ, because me and Daniel didn't like Stray. John likes Stray. Me and Daniel, we like Saints Row. John doesn't.
Wait, what do you two like that I don't like?
About which one?
I mean, we liked Hitman when you didn't, but now we do.
Yeah, but...
Well, what games do we like? Well, we like Fallout New Vegas, and you don't like Fallout New Vegas.
Fallout New Vegas is awful. There we go. All right, yeah.
And thus now we know that Dan is just wrong, and thus we can discard his opinions going forward.
I think the same thing about you about Stray, and also Saints Row, and also fuck you.
Stray's not going to win Game of the Year in the slightest, but it's an enjoyable
loads of people are saying it should.
Loads of people are
comically
very wrong. It should be Elden Ring. Elden Ring's the Game of the Year.
Loads of Game of the Year.
Elden Ring's the Game of the Year. It really is.
Obviously, yes.
Well, actually, there's another. I don't like Elden Ring, and you two do. But admittedly, I don't like Elden Ring just because I don't get on with it, not because I think it's a bad game.
I fully respect anyone who doesn't get on with Elden Ring, because in the same way that I hardcore battle, I fucking hate Sekiro. Alright? I love Elden Ring. And, you know what? Some From Software games you're going to bounce off, some might do it for you. Alright, I got nothing against anyone who looks at Elden Ring, so you know what? This isn't the right format for me. Fine. You know what? Fair play to you. Because for some reason, I'm sure mechanically, if you put them under a microscope and examine the atomic composition, Sekiro and Elden Ring are probably really similar in all sorts of ways. But fuck it, my opinion of them is world apart.
I mean, I kind of agree. I think they're both great, but Sekiro I never went back to. I finished it and it was done because it wasn't a game about coming up with different builds, And Elden Ring is such a... I've said this lots of times, when I've been replaying it, I never replay games, but I've gone straight back into replay, and in the opening area I found a whole new village, a whole new dungeon, and a whole boss battle just out in the world. because I climbed up a rock and suddenly a big fucking bird starts attacking me with boss music, and I'm like, ah!
I mean, I find it really interesting because whenever people talk about the FromSoft games, they all have the same bones, but they're all really different in how they feel. All of them, even though they are clearly in the same engine and they look similar and they are clearly based on a lot of the same things. They all are whenever I play Bloodborne, I really enjoy it. The only reason I haven't finished playing Bloodborne is because it's on the PS4 and it runs at about 25 FPS, and I just hate that.
Just waiting for that PC port. One day.
Yeah, legitimately, that'll become one of my favorite games when it is running at not 25.
Yeah. Only downside.
Every other one I don't really get on with as much, and but they're all basically the same game with just a few differences, and it's amazing how much of difference they can all make.
It's also, I mean, I was looking at the sales figures just then because I'm betting Elden Ring has sold a shit ton more than anything else.
Must be over 10 million by now, right?
16.6 million for Elden Ring. That is a big number. To put it in context, Demon's Souls here is 1 million. Bloodborne was 2 million copies. It was an exclusive. Dark Souls 3 was apparently 10 million copies. That was the biggest one before this. Actually, with 10 million copies for Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls, the original, with 5.5, Sekiro with 5, Dark Souls 2, 2.5, Bloodborne with 2. We could see a point by next year-ish where Elden Ring has sold more copies than all of From Software's previous titles combined.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Looking at the list of top sales this year, it's Elden Ring as number 1. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is 2, which I found interesting.
Kids, man.
3 is Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Hey,
4 is Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, not a great game.
5, weirdly, is MLB The Show 22.
Yeah, never, ever, 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 ever underestimate sports games. Except
then Call of Duty Vanguard, then Gran Turismo 7, then Kirby in the Forgotten Land, which I adore that game, then Mario Kart 8 still.
It is. Well, I was simultaneously looking at the list of the best-selling video games of all time, and despite the fact Nintendo consoles have had a checkered history, it's amazing how many Nintendo games are there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, if you buy a Nintendo console though, the big games on that console, everyone who owns that console,
everyone just buys the first-party games. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
even
the thing.
If the console's not doing that well, its big Nintendo games are still in the top best-selling games of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and if you go to best-selling consoles, of course, you can look down here and see that the PlayStation Portable, which was a notable failure, was about 80 million, and then the Xbox One was 58.5 million. Thanks, Phil Harrison.
Yeah.
So that means that more people bought a PlayStation Portable than an Xbox One.
When I'm at yours occasionally, Daniel, I try to use your Xbox One, notably just to watch television.
I watch Blu-rays through it, yeah.
No, but you know what happened, right? Me and Rebecca sat down to watch a Blu-ray, right?
Yeah.
So I tried to open a streaming app on it, and it says, you constantly need to update, you can't use it.
Every fucking time,
yeah. Fine. So I got a Blu-ray, I put Blu-ray in, and I clicked the video player, and it went, you must log in to use the video player.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I'm offline. And it's like, no, you must go online, log into your Microsoft account, update the console, and then you can use the Blu-ray player. And I'm like, what? I'm putting a disc in.
Yeah, this is why I
got so angry.
Offline.
But it was offline. It was offline. It wouldn't play a Blu-ray. It just bricked itself. That's the one thing it's meant to do.
Actually, here's a question then. What do you think the longest ever gap between a game being announced and a game being released is, and what game holds that title?
Is it now? Oh fuck! What's it called? Hang on, I'll remember the name of. Beyond Good and Evil 2.
It's Beyond Good and Evil 2, which is.
I thought it might be. That's been fucking in the ether forever. 5,234
days since the first trailer.
Jesus.
Which, to put it in perspective, beats out the 5,156 days between Duke Nukem Forever's 1997 announcement and its release in 2011. Thank you, Brendan Sinclair on Twitter for that fact. That a lot of people sent to me today.
I'm looking at the top selling video games of all time. It's a weird list.
I mean, not much of it surprises me, but I will say that the surprise actually for me that just floating around the top 20 or so, Human Fall Flat. Selling the same amount as fucking Skyrim.
Really?
Wait, where is that?
Fucking trash.
Oh yeah, 21. 21 best-selling game of all time, along with Skyrim.
Both estimated as 30 million copies sold.
Next to Modern Warfare, Diablo 3. And
If you ask me to say, okay, which of the following games sold better, Skyrim or Human Fall Flat? I'd be like, why are you asking me this joke question? Like,
that can't be right, surely.
Maybe someone put an extra 0 in there by mistake.
Boring game.
That's Human Fall Flat is the most successful game of all time.
No, I do not believe that. I have never heard anyone fucking talk about that game.
I did a video on it, and it was like Gang Beast, but without the fun, and I was like, I don't really like this. And a lot of the people in the comments were like, you missed the point, and I was like, alright, whatever. And then now apparently it's 30 million copies sold on its 5th anniversary.
But what's interesting, the top 10 games of all time, it's Minecraft at the top, obviously, then GTA 5.
GTA 5 is a super fucking interesting one. Right? Because when it goes on sale, you see that GTA 5 keeps popping up in like top sales charts and stuff. People buy the deluxe edition that comes with shark cards on sale because it's cheaper than buying just the shark card.
Admittedly, though, even when the game came out, it was one of the best selling games of all time.
It made $1 billion really fast. But the reason it's so high is because loads of people own loads and loads and loads and loads of copies of it to try and get the shark cards.
But this is the interesting. So you got GTA 5, then you got Tetris, then Wii Sports, then PUBG.
Which still exists, but you don't hear much about anymore these days.
No. Then Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Then Mario Kart 8. Then Overwatch. Then Pokemon Red/Green/Blue/Yellow. And then number 10 is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, advertising, baby.
And then 11 is Terraria. That's fascinating, that. I would not have... Like... This is saying that Human Fall Flat sold better than Breath of the Wild. And San Andreas.
Yeah. Who'd play San Andreas when you could play Human Fall Flat?
I don't believe... I
5 million more copies of GTA 4.
Well, I think...
knocked Pokemon Diamond, Pearl and Platinum into a cocked hat.
I think a lot more people...
that figure.
I think a lot more people are playing games now than before. So around the PS2, as much as the PS2 was the best-selling console of all time, let's be real, it didn't have competition. All right? Sorry, N64 people, it didn't. It just obliterated everything. But there was a few people gaming on PCs, but it wasn't like a huge amount. But now PC gaming's more popular, mobile gaming's more popular. It's like the inverse, when people are like, oh, Diana's funeral was watched by more than the Queen's funeral. Well, yeah, of course it was, because less people watch TV now. You know, that's just how the things work. And then people will be watching lots of different
And I'm going to be honest, the live chat on the live stream version of the Queen's funeral was pretty tasteless. They had to keep interrupting it to read the donations, and I'm going to be honest, it took away from the solemnity of the event significantly.
Oh, solemnity. In the wiki,
that's right. I'm proper educated. Me, I use the fancy words.
The section here, one of the reasons it says for such high sales, apparently it's China.
Oh, there it is.
Part of the sales included the popularity of the game in China over 2020 after being released there, in part due to the game's popularity during the pandemic. And obviously China had a full lockdown for a very long time.
Yeah, they did.
And games don't really get released in China
very often. So it was a cheap game that you could play with friends while in a massive lockdown. Yeah, I could
had literally no references to Winnie the Pooh in it.
Yeah. And this is why, of course, everything targets China, which is why you're not allowed any gay characters or anything. It's like, no, we have to do this slowly. But what's interesting
is opening the fucking wiki page, it's like the reception section is like, Human Fall Flat received mixed to average reviews. I'm like, what? Viv!
And everyone's like, you know what, I'm going to buy this more than Skyrim.
I don't even think I own
Skyrim,
it.
let's go buy Human Fall Flat.
Do I even own that? I feel like I own fucking almost every god. I don't even think I own Human Fall.
I definitely own it.
You own it, but like fucking...
I played it. I didn't like it. Interesting. Okay.
No, I don't own it.
Explain that.
I do not own it.
I'm seeing some interest.
Oh, I own it. Apparently, I've never played it.
Interesting. Oh,
yeah, no spoilers, Dan. Matt hasn't played it.
Yes, Dan. Yes, Daniel. Oh, spoilers. Daniel, please fucking say the sentence.
Interesting.
Is Dan doing investigative journalism right now? Are we going to be a proper journalist podcast?
No, he's just stalling.
No, not stalling. It's way fucking cheaper in China. So it's like a $20 game normally. It's a 50-cent game in China. They sold it. They got popular and they went, let's wang the price down and explode. That's some seriously fucking good business sense. Yeah, 30 million.
Yeah?
Look at that.
It does
Human
kind of
fall
skew
flat.
because, of course...
It's the same amount of sales as Skyrim. That's fucking great.
Because the version of Tetris we're all thinking of is actually down at 13. The version of Tetris at number 3 is the mobile version.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, mobile and price variance does make a big difference. Of course, Wii Sports wasn't Wii Sports given away for free with the Wii?
Yes, every week.
That's kind of cheating, I think.
Yes.
I think some of the most interesting games here, because I think Minecraft's been cheap a lot. GTA 5 has been cheap a fuck ton.
Yeah.
I mean, the only game here, really, which has not really went that cheap, it's probably in the top 10, it's probably Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, all the Nintendo games, because they never go on
£30.
heavy sale. Nintendo never does deep discounts.
That going for that price. I mean, obviously, the original Super Mario Brothers sold a bit more, but Mario Kart 8 is a recent game that sold that highly.
Haven't they? They've released that over several consoles, though. That's Wii U and Switch sales combined.
Yeah, it is Wii U and Switch sales, but all the same, for a full-price game, I think out of the top 10, that's the only one that would have sold for consistently more than 20, 30 quid.
Well, I'm the original Pokemons, the original Game Boy games.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I love those games.
Okay,
I think they were sold for about £30. I think the original Game Boy game sold for about £30 back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're looking at it's interesting. That's blown my fucking mind, Uniful. That's really interesting. I mean, Duck Hunt's there. We play Walking Dead did well.
Quickly to human fall flat.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, John, about just like half of these are Nintendo games.
Yeah, it is wild how Nintendo games there are. Because even if the consoles aren't selling that well, everyone buys the fucking first-party games.
But here's the thing,
because if you're not going to, why do you own a Nintendo console?
Oh, 42 is Kinect Adventures.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Kinect Adventures has sold more than Mario Odyssey.
Well, that came with a Kinect, didn't it?
Yeah, but like 5 people bought a console with a Kinect.
No, a lot of people bought the Kinect when it first came out.
Didn't one of the versions of the Xbox come with a Kinect built in?
Xbox One! Phil Harrison's decision. It was fucking awful.
The original Xbox One came with an Xbox.
Did that
itself come bundled with Kinect Adventures?
No. You had to have it equipped. You have to have the Kinect on at all times. That was his idea.
Yeah, I feel like this is another one where there's been some... Yeah, fiddling with the list due to weird business practices.
I mean, if you want to include, like, games that people have played, Candy Crush would smash everything on that list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's free, isn't it? That's free with microtransactions. Same reason Fortnite's not on here.
Yeah, true. But, Fortnite would smash everything on that list. Games like that with these alternate business models would smash all that stuff. That's kind of the...
As opposed to GTA 5, where people will pay up front, then keep paying anyway.
Oh shit! We haven't talked about GTA 6.
Because some people just have too much money.
Oh yeah, GTA 6 had the huge
GTA 6 is out,
and people are already in court and/or prison for it.
Yep. Yeah. Which is don't really hack into big corporations.
I mean, look,
pro tip.
It was a British person that did it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a Brit in the end. It was a kid,
17-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, right when
on the company Slack, nice and easy.
The people who made Just Cause 4 multiplayer, who made Just Cause 3 multiplayer. Oh, no, sorry, Just Cause 2 multiplayer. Sorry, who made Just Cause 3 multiplayer. They, in the middle of that, were trying to make a GTA 5 multiplayer. Mm-hmm. Like a modded one. And I remember I spoke to them, because at the time, the NerdCubed fucking Just Cause 2 server was the biggest one. And I had a chat with them. And they were saying, they were in Germany, and they said they started working on it, and literally a week later... After they started working on it quietly, lawyers turned up at several of their houses in person with a cease and desist from Rockstar. They are fucking serious, Rockstar.
No, it's Take-Two.
Take-Two, yeah.
You gotta love the companies that are way more modder friendly. You gotta love that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for modder friendliness, one of the reasons
I like my Bethesdas.
Yeah, we wouldn't know
Paradoxes. They're very friendly to modders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you see one of the things that they announced with the 4000 series cards? Where they were just like, hey, look, we've built in a system that can rip Morrowind and make it RTX for modders.
Yeah, no,
I saw that, but it was the weirdest shit because it wasn't just, hey, we're gonna like retexture. Like there were assets in the version they were showing for the improved version that were not in the original. Like there was just extra shit on the table that wasn't there. I was like, I'm not sure I want my graphics card to add additional assets into the world. That's fucking weird.
But I like that because all of that's just like models are cool. That's the whole vibe of that, which I think is really nice. I think that's a really nice thing.
I adore that. So it works with every well, not every, but most, or a certain number of DirectX 8 and 9 era games. So you're talking between Morrowind and up to Portal and stuff like that. Because Portal, of course, is getting an RTX mod, an official one. So the original Portal's getting RTX added to it. Using this thing.
Okay,
And it literally...
can I just put my hand up for a second?
Yeah.
I see this word a lot. What actually is RTX?
It's ray tracing, baby. Ray tracing.
It's hardware ray tracing.
Instead of lights being like
continue defining, because I understand it's a pretty thing that's intensive on a graphics card.
Yes. So you know how light comes out of a light bulb and bounces around a bit? Well, we kind of fake that a lot.
Conceptually, I'm aware. Like photons.
Yeah, photon. Oh, fuck, let's not get into science.
Yeah. It's become that bit.
Oh god, if wave particle duality comes up, I am going to kill myself on this podcast. I will say that now. If I have to start explaining quantum superposition to John,
you mean the photons don't just go in a straight line?
No, shut up, John. No, John, they do. Straight line. No, even when you're looking at them, fuck it. Right, John. Light comes off of a source, yeah? Light comes off of a source and it goes and it bounces around for a bit. You know that. Light does a bit of a bouncy bouncer, yeah? If you turn a light on, bouncy bouncy. Well, ray tracing is just bouncy bouncy. Instead of just like, this is making a light and it's casting a shadow there because that's in the way and we generate the shadows, now the light is doing the bouncy bouncy, but it's also taking in information from where it hits. So say you shone a light on a green floor and there's a white wall next to it, then the white wall will have some green light off of the floor scattered onto it. That's ray tracing.
That sounds very complicated and intensive.
It's a lot of maths. It's intensive. You need special bits of the graphics card to deal with it. It's fucking the biggest, I think, evolution in gaming graphics.
It's called ray tracing because it literally, John, they literally trace every ray.
Where every ray of light is going.
Yeah.
It makes sense now.
Yeah.
They have to render all the different bounces, and you'll see RTX is like a subset of several things. Like you'll see some games have ray traced ambient occlusion or ray traced shadows. Not all of them are necessarily mutually exclusive. Like Watch Dogs Legion, for example, had ray traced shadows and reflections, but not ray traced lighting.
Yes.
I really appreciate it when setting screens just have me like a little picture so I can see what happens if I change things. Like Resident Evil does this a lot. Because otherwise, like, game says, like, do you want ambient occlusion? Or I was like, I've no fucking clue, mate. Yeah. I mean, do I? I've no fucking clue. Probably.
I really like the games that have an option, which is either high, where it looks kind of okay, and then it's just low, where it looks like a potato. And it's like, well, one runs terribly and one runs fine. And they're the only two options. And that's what it shows you in the background. And it's like, wow, such a good computer.
Resident Evil 2 has such an amazing set of graphics options where it tells you, like, live, what is this going to look like? What does this actually really mean? What's the likely impact on performance? Brilliant set of settings.
I liked because I like ones that explain what everything is. Because like as much as I keep up with stuff, if you see like TXAA, I'm like, oh, which one's that again? I don't fucking remember. But my favorite one, I think it was Unreal Tournament 3, quite a while ago. But if you go back to it now and put all the graphics up to max, you just hear a voice go, "Holy shit!" Because it was built for a computer that was further on. You know, they actually put some extra stuff in there. So I love that. That was a wonderful.
When I was younger, I remember because I used to play X-Plane like 10 and 9 loads, and that game in the graphics settings had such a weirdly high bar. Clearly, they built that game and went, okay, someone in 10 years can run this on high.
The crisis mode.
And it was, it was really fun. And there's something about how quickly graphics technology is advanced nowadays that we're getting this really amazing ray tracing. Because, I mean, John, have you played Minecraft RTX, have you?
No, I've barely played any Minecraft at all, to be honest.
Well, this is the thing. Minecraft RTX is interesting because they have they have the maps, the little maps they've made that are basically giving you a tour of RTX, and it explains what it does and actually shows every instance of how RTX works. There's a reason NVIDIA were using it as the tech demo. Because it's a really good way to explain exactly how it works. And obviously, it's Minecraft, so you can physically put something there and see what it's doing.
Yeah.
And it's if you want a good dive into RTX quickly and easily, just try Minecraft RTX and download the preset RTX map that just gives you a bit of a tour and it explains what everything's doing and it's cool. It's so cool.
It's also, I mean,
that you put down a thing.
Well, Minecraft is one of the best games for that because it shows how much graphical oomph comes from lighting. It's something the film industry is known for ages, but it is lighting really sells something. And in a video game, having those little... Because Minecraft looks like, a bunch of shit. And it's always looked like a bunch of shit. That's kind of its appeal. But it's that same bunch of shit, only this time the lights are working properly. And that means that when the sun comes up and it hits your red brick wall that you've built, that red brick then glows red. And your whole place glows red in the morning. And it gives everything just such a sense of purpose and feeling and just really exist. Like you really exist in that little place. And for a game like Minecraft, that's fucking essential. And I think that's where really it brings to life. Like it's not just a thing that improves hyper-realistic games because they're like, oh look, we've got new eyelash technology and eyelashes fall out over time and all that sort of shit. And you're like, oh yeah, great, I don't care. Like that's not like 8K, fuck you. I can't even run games at 4K. I don't care to. Like 4K to me, 1 for 4K, they're the same thing. I can't see the difference. I don't give a shit. One makes my computer screen, one doesn't. Which one am I going to play? But with ray tracing, it's just such a big improvement on every 3D game. Like, that's what it can really bring.
The problem with ray tracing as a marketing is the amount of people, right? I mean, I see it all the time in fucking comments for our YouTube videos, is always, I wish this game had RTX, right? A lot of games don't need it. Especially a lot of modern games. Like, Legion's a good example of a game that's... The lighting in Watch Dogs Legion is fantastic.
Yeah, well, Watch Dogs Legion needed ray tracing because London's wet. And
yeah, but it's that's for the reflections. The lighting isn't ray traced.
The lighting isn't ray traced. No, the lighting, I believe, is baked completely in because,
but this is my point, right? So many people bring up the ray traced lighting, and in a game like Minecraft, it's perfect because it's dynamic. And for older games, modding it in, it's perfect because it adds so much.
I mean, you saw that Morrowind shit. Like, it looks amazing.
Well, yeah. Modern games, baked in lighting can look fantastic, and sometimes it's gonna run better and look just as good as if it was ray traced. If your environment's set, then you don't necessarily need the dynamic rendering.
No.
I mean,
it is a choice.
Have you tried Hitman 3 RTX?
No, I have not.
Oh my god, I open Hitman 3, it runs at 80 FPS, and I turn RTX, it drops to fucking 15, and it doesn't look any different.
I didn't like Cyberpunk. See, Cyberpunk.
I've no idea whether I've turned that on or off. I've no cooking clue.
Cyberpunk's RTX I turned off because I preferred the look of it with it off. Probably because it was unfinished piece of shit, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next patch is apparently adding police AI that can chase you. Maybe I'll finally be able to play the game.
And does it appear out of thin air behind you, perhaps?
No, they're actually going to appear properly. They're redoing the whole AI.
That's taking them that long.
I mean, the most recent update added some stuff from Edgerunners, but apparently they're working on a big chunky update that's going to fix a lot of the actual problems with the game.
Is it going to be like No Man's Sky, or is it going to die a death?
I don't know. They keep
on 20 million or something now.
Yeah, I mean, it
doesn't mean it's going to be good.
As I've argued many times, it is the most beautiful game world I've ever been in. I just want there to be a game in it.
I feel like there's definitely been some sunk cost fallacy. I've seen so many people desperately boasting on Twitter about how it was always amazing and now it's the best game. It's like, are you really sure? Are you sure it's just not you haven't put a lot of hours into this and this is sunk cost fallacy talking?
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who put a lot of hours into it, it's pretty... Yeah, it's, yeah.
The amount, when the fucking big update came out, I think you did a stream, and you, went around an immediate corner and your car crashed into an invisible wall and got stuck on a road.
Yeah.
And then every car kept going through it and the cars kept disappearing. And you were showing that off and just laughing because it's so silly. The amount of people that thought you had modded the game to make it break, to make it look bad because you hate Cyberpunk. There were so many people who genuinely thought that, which is insane.
I don't hate Cyberpunk. I hate the people who push Cyberpunk out the door too early.
Yeah.
That's why the relationship between a game developer and a game publisher is a very complicated thing. Because, I mean, we've recently had the news that the YouTuber Donkey, who does those wonderful gaming videos.
Here we go.
He's going to be doing game publishing. He's making his own production company. And I'm fucking for it. I didn't know how to write a book, and now it's Sunday Times bestseller. So, if you think you do something...
The response from all the indies on Twitter was bad.
Well, the response has been, but no one knows any of the shit.
Surely, I haven't really followed this in great detail, but unless he's actually going into indie developers' houses with a gun and forcing them to work with him, surely, if they don't like him, they could just not work.
Yeah, he's just another publisher. But if you are in that sort of, if you have a game that is fun to it's a very a surgeon simulator back in 2013, or a human fall flat now apparently, something that's a bit YouTuber baity and a bit more fun to make videos and stuff out of, fuck me, that is someone I'd go to. That is somebody who knows that shit and will be able to go, oh, no, this. Like, that's somebody who will give you legitimately good advice. You know, I think that's somebody who could really tighten up a game for that audience because he knows that audience. I mean, I'm sitting here.
The problem
and
is,
I know I don't know that audience deliberately. Like, I deliberately don't know and I don't want to know.
But there's that disconnect, right? Because I think a lot of people can know whether something is good or bad, but a lot of people would find it difficult to actually make something good. For example, like I can watch a bad movie and go, oh, that movie's terrible, but I guarantee you I could not make a better movie.
I could. That's the thing. And I learned how to. But no, that's it. I learned how to. You can't learn to be a game publisher without publishing games.
No, yeah, I agree.
So I think I'm for it. Like, I know a lot of people are very negative, but I think that, like,
okay,
worst case scenario,
bringing this up.
Like, no. Why do you get into game publishing? I bet if you ask that to the majority of game publishers, they would say there's a lot of money to be made. If you ask Donkey, it would be because he loves video games. And maybe it will fall apart. Yes. Maybe it will go to shit. But I think that he's going into that with the right fucking attitude to make some good fucking games.
No, I really want him to succeed. This isn't a zero-sum game. He doesn't take anything away from any other publisher by trying, does he?
No.
I'm not. No. I can't see any other. I can't see any way in which he hurts anybody by trying. The worst that happens is he pisses away his money.
Yeah.
The thing that confuses me is everyone's going, oh, YouTubers get into the publishing game. The Yogscast have been publishing video games for about fucking 8 years.
I ran a video game store, you know, where it was cheaper to buy games and, you know, there was more of a cut to charities and stuff.
But this is it. It's not new. Everyone's been like, oh my God, they get... No. No.
We've all dipped into these little bits and pieces, haven't we? Like, yeah, I think somebody who's got that energetic love of video games, because he does love video games and he is good at, like, I've noticed that I've been really, like, shifting towards people who just, like, really love video games. Like, I watch a lot of Adam Cole Baby over on Twitch, the wrestler, because he talks about games. And
Chunks, baby!
Every time the Chugs talks, that's what he's called on Twitch, every time he talks about games, it looks like he's going to cry with how happy they make him, and I love that. Because that's the energy I have for them. That's what I feel about them. That's what I love about them. And I love watching people who have that. And, you know, Donkey's someone who clearly really enjoys playing video games, really enjoys kind of niche, weird little video games. He understands a lot of stuff that you can do a lot worse. That's what I'm saying. Go Donkey is what I'm trying to say here.
That's what got me into this shit, like, a decade ago. Because that was, when I started, that was the periods where the most popular creators in the world were grumpy people going on rants about how shit games were.
Yeah.
That was the big pop thing. And I fucking hated that shit.
Was the fucking start one.
And I fucking hated that shit. I was like, but no, I like video games.
Exactly the same. And then I
just want to talk about good video games that I like.
I just then started doing video games that I hated because it was funny. And I started being funny.
Back in 2010, the bad games were sort of funny to laugh at, but as we got further and further into the Steam era, where it just became this flood of them.
Yeah.
It became more depressing than funny.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I
can laugh at Simon's Quest, but we're like, every fucking Steam.
For me, I felt because I felt like about 6-7 years ago is when I kind of made the very deliberate shift away from, you know, just ratting on these game stuff. Because I felt like with Steam and everything getting swamped with all this shovelware and sort of all these fucking hentai bullshit things that fill my Steam page up for some reason. God, I wish I'd stopped doing those videos. I feel like once Steam's fucked all that shit up, Steam was like the curator, and now I have to be the curator. Like, because I could pick out a shit game like a Ride Tower and laugh because, you know, no one was really going to buy it, but it meant we could look and learn and laugh and have a good time. But now games like that are everywhere on Steam, and I'm like, well, it's easy to pick out the good shit. Yeah, that's what it shifted for me. It's like, well, I've got a finite amount of time, I might as well be focusing on just the good shit because there's now more good shit than can be covered.
Well, here's a question, because this is related to it. It's something I think we should talk about at some point. It's Saints Row.
Saints Row!
Because the reaction to Saints Row has been fascinating.
It's been predictable. I'm not surprised by a single bit of the Saints Row reaction.
No, but there's three elements to it. There's kind of you and me, Daniel, who like the game for what it is.
Yeah.
There's people like John who are like justifiably critical of it, but then you have this other subset.
I think that's mischaracterization. My view. I think it is a game.
Critical.
I think it is a game that is
it was unjustifiably
fine, but I expect better than fine for that price point in this day and age.
Okay, but that's what you had justified criticisms, is my point. But then you have this other group, which seems to be huge for Saints Row, which was fucking flooding streams and videos of just people who despise it, and there's this really hateful energy towards it. And I'm curious as where that comes from.
I know exactly where it came from. It came from the first trailer. It came from the first trailer, which was admittedly not great. It was a bit CGI heavy, kind of nothingy, just sort of people going, man, we're doing things, and man, not very Saints Row. And I was like, oh, this looks a bit like Saints Row. That's some interesting characters, sure. And then, there were jokes about fucking student loans and shit, and people people start throwing around the word woke and stuff. And what happens with gamer culture is basically the internet picks a side. And the internet picked the side of this is shit. And because the internet picked the side of this is shit, and all the YouTubers and the podcasters the people listen to are going, this is shit, they went, oh, this is shit. And they can't then form an opinion for themselves. And then they'll nitpick, and then they'll poke, and then they'll be like, no, I can't actually be wrong. Because being wrong is the worst thing. I mean, that is the big failing of social media in this whole fucking time, is that people refuse to be wrong. And learning to be wrong is the thing that'll make you happier than anything else in your entire fucking life.
It's just... I find that reaction to the game kind of frustrating, purely because, I mean, people have similar reaction to Legion in some ways, but Saints Row is a game, for all its faults, that you can kind of tell a lot of care has went into, even though it's a bit of a mess.
It's a game that has been released too early. That's its problem.
It is.
It needs a few more patches and a bit of TLC. If
the
I
world
played
feels
that,
a bit bland to me. It feels like it's not got that many new ideas going on.
Yeah, but it's weird because I agree with you, but don't see that as a negative point.
Same.
Because if
I like
this game,
Crackdown 3 a lot.
I enjoy Crackdown 3 as well. But if this game had come out after Saints Row 4, like, a year or two later, I would have gone, yeah, it's another Saints Row. It's not that special. It's not nothing. But nobody really makes sandbox games anymore. Because open world games are basically everything. Even fucking God of War's an open world game. You've got all these... Everything's an open world, everything's got towers to climb and all that sort of shit. Whereas this is a sandbox game, it's just there to fuck around, and we don't really get those, old GTA-inspired fuck-around games. People who played a lot of Vice City and 3 and San Andreas growing up and went, actually, I want to make this thing. And when everything in Rockstar got very po-faced and serious and sort of like real-worldy, that kind of fell away. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 is about as fun as a funeral. It really is a not fun game.
A lot of the criticisms of sort of Saints Row were like, oh, the driving's very unrealistic.
Perfect driving.
Mate,
one of my favourite driving models.
I drive a little tiny monster truck around, and I do flips in it, and I crush things, and I laugh the whole time.
But that's the thing, right? So it's a game that is filling a niche it's a game that doesn't get made very much anymore. You know what it is? It's like the new Monkey Island. Because you don't really get a lot of adventure games and stuff. So... For certain people, I mean, it is it's a Ron Gilbert game. It's got very good reviews. It's apparently, I'm not a big adventure game fan, so I'll kind of avoid it. But a lot of people who love adventure games like this is a fucking great thing, and they're loving it even more because it's just something that you don't see very often. So yeah, Saints Row is a passable 7 out of 10 game, like I said it would be from the word go.
Yeah.
It's a really solid, fun 7 out of 10. It's a doner kebab of a game.
That's the exact 10 out of 10 I picked for it that wasn't even in the video because it got cut out for time and flow and whatnot. But my exact description was it would have been a 7 out of 10 even if it had come out a decade ago.
Yeah, it's a 7 out of 10 game and it's core. But you know what? I fucking loved it. Because I love that kind of game.
I think it's mispriced. I think it's mispriced for what it is.
You see,
I think it's a $20 game.
See that?
I think it's a game
so that's a really
I would
important
never
point.
buy at that price.
Only we can really talk about because I don't know how much games cost anymore. Because this is my job, that is something that is just a button that I click and the money comes out of the business account and then I'll do a video on it and I know the money then goes back in that way round. So I have none of that perspective, and I never review from the perspective of value. Or it's a code, yeah.
But the interesting thing with value is when we're talking about, because it's a £50 game, right?
Yeah.
And when we're talking about £50, it's interesting now, because obviously we're getting a lot of games that are 70 now. 70 seems to be the resting spot for big AAA at this point.
Yeah.
It's going up. So 50, at least in comparison to that, seems okay. But I agree with you that simultaneously, I'm playing it going... This doesn't really feel like it's, but equally, I'm sat there playing, going, this has so many systems, it's doing it's got everything. It's got this huge big map. Everything's clearly got a lot of care put into it, and everything's very custom. And clearly a lot of work is went into it. And I'm going, well, I do think it's mispriced. I don't think it should have been 20 quid. I mean, I keep saying, whenever anyone's asked what I think of it, I'm like, this is really good. You should pick it up when it's on sale, is what I keep saying to people. I consider it worth it at less than 30.
A little amendment to that. I'd say that it is something that if you enjoy the Saints Row franchise and want another one, it's a full price game. If not,
I enjoy it as a full price game.
For a sale, it's interesting to jump into a kind of game you might not have played before. It is a fuck around. You want to fuck around with it.
I think I disagree with you saying that there are no fuck around games anymore. I think there have been multiple fuck around games this year.
Oh, like what?
Sandbox games. Though.
Yeah, sandbox games.
Dying Light 2. Fuck around open world sandbox.
Dying Light 2? Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo. Open world fuck around sandbox.
Let me go through something. So Dying Light 2 is a bit fuck aroundy, but you can't exactly, get in a monster truck and ramp off of a load of things. It's more focused. It's more mission based. There's a story.
It is not more mission based. It's a fucking old Ubisoft map of a world.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's got the checklists. It's got the shit. I won't just boot up Dying Light 2 to run around in it for a while. That's my test of if it's a sandbox game or if it's an open world game. So I disagree because it's not something I would boot up to just run around in for a bit. It's not something I would just play. Like on my Steam, I have a folder for just games that you just boot up and have a good time and then shut it down. No progress is made, nothing happens. I'm just there to have a good time. And Saints Row falls under that category for me. So I would say that Dying Light 2 is too much of a game and not enough like a toy. Also, they patched it and my frame rate dropped from a flawless 120 to about 30 and it never came back. So I never progressed beyond sort of the first few missions in the big city bit, which is good.
Ghostwire Tokyo is quite a small little map, isn't it? And it's
I didn't even know that was
really
open world.
A fuck around game.
It's the first hour or two is very linear, but then the game's just like, by the way, here's a hook shot and here's a massive series of city blocks. Go fucking nuts, find whatever you want.
Yeah, but there's a difference between a game with a lot of exploration and a game that's a sandbox. Like Saints Row is it's a toy.
It's a toy. It's like Just Cause.
There's not enough in it to be a toy like you're describing, though. You can drive over huge areas of desert and there's fuck all. And like,
but this is the interesting thing.
I mean, the things that douche up on your map, like the dumpsters. There's just nothing interesting.
I really strongly disagree because I get a lot of fun in the police chases and shit like that. I find the police chase system, the actual driving connected to the way that the cops come up to your side and stuff is so fun and satisfying and so physicsy good time that it just, for me, I could just play it for hours. Like I literally could just run around giggling I just want to pick up on
the actual police because this is not specifically tied to Saints Row, but it's something I was thinking about just the other day, which is I think we need the next thing that a big, and this is something I hope GTA 6 does when it actually finally comes out, is we need to completely throw out the dumb, stupid, completely nonsensical way that police work in 99% of these games, which is the standard assumption has been for like a decade and a half at this point that if you get far enough away from the police that they lose sight of you, they decide, you know what, no crime's been committed. And the universe resets. And that's fucking nonsense.
Yeah,
we need to start thinking about,
So, John, but that's a dark path to go down, because the end of that path is Red Dead Redemption 2, where you do have a constant wanted level, I assume, because you had that in 1, but you have a constant wanted level, you have all these very sensible... It's like, it's fucking weird your character doesn't piss ever. There's, considering they're eating and drinking loads and having to go to the bath, are we assuming they're pissing in the bath?
Okay, that's one thing, but like in a world where you're playing as a criminal, and one of your key things you're dealing with is, I am committing crime and don't want to get caught. While I'm committing the crime, like the police and how they interact with you and the world is pretty important. To be honest, I think it should be a big deal. I think, a scenario I would think of would be if you kill a cop, then the cop should be fucking coming for you, and they're not going to forget, and they're not going to forgive.
Yeah, but
the thing
I think a game should be set up in such a way as when you're being chased by police, your goal is to get away from them, and you do not want to kill a cop. Because if you do, you've just basically increased the level of you are now being hunted by a massive degree.
That's a fun idea, and I think you could build a game around having to, set up a heist or something, or maybe even a roguelike kind of game would fit with that. But a 120-hour, big, fucking long, open sandbox epic, where by the end of it, you're America's #1, would be a fucking miserable experience where you're just hiding in a house crying.
Yeah, I want a scenario where at some point you might think, you know what, I'm going to relocate, I'm going to get plastic surgery, I need to pay money for fake documentation and create a new identity.
We've got something like this, right? So, because the 3 games we're bringing up here, example, Saints Row, which is a game that does not give a fuck, the way it resolves the police coming after the Saints is by picking up their car and holding it over a big fire.
Yeah.
And then you have Red Dead Redemption 2, which takes it really seriously, and you keep moving along, and you don't have a constant wanted level, but in some areas you've got to be recognized, and you should change clothes, and you have to keep yourself washed because people will find it suspicious. But then you also have a game like Watch Dogs Legion, where your character is recognized. Like, I had to stop using a guy because I walked into a police station at one point, like, doobie-doobie, not really thinking, and the guy on the front desk, I'd beaten up his brother, and he recognized me.
I love these stories.
Yeah, I do love some stuff in Legion, like, you know, if
that's
someone
a really
gets arrested,
fun way of
you
doing
need
it,
to
though.
recruit a lawyer to get them out faster.
Yeah, that's
stuff
a fun
like that
way
is
of doing
really
it if
fun.
you've got a big cast. And I really like that as a game where you'd have a big cast.
Some people I just couldn't fucking use after a certain point because they were so... I couldn't go through checkpoints because fucking red light. I couldn't walk near police because they'd be like, fucking hell, I saw you the other day, you beat up Nigel. And I'm like...
I know, I love that game.
You know,
I love that for that.
I think that's really fun, but obviously the problem is that works in a game like Legion specifically because you have all the characters, which is what everyone complained about for some reason, being like, oh, we need a proper single character. But when you have a single character...
I'm going to say this now, right? Enid is one of the best characters I've ever had in a video game. That I've ever played with, ever enjoyed the adventures of. And honestly, a character I think about so much and the amount of, shit that she got up to. Because I, on the final mission, had, literally, I could get shot once more and I'd die. And it's permadeath's on. And that is the tensest I've ever been in a mission before. And this is why I think Watch Dogs Legion is one of those games people are going to look back on and go, oh, this was actually, we should have listened to this. But again, it's that gaming voice where all the people are like, oh, this is shit. Oh, it's just more of the thing. And people are like, yes, podcaster person. Oh, I will listen to you and I will not think.
I think it's kind of frustrating, especially for something like Legion, even Saints Row to a certain degree, right? Because I feel like Legion's frustrating in ignoring the fact it's made by Ubisoft, which is just makes it toxic in a lot of ways, which is very frustrating.
Yep.
But even it's a game where a lot of technical creativity has gone into it, like more than I've seen from any AAA game in a very long time.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. They have spent so long making these incredibly intricate systems to make it a really unique game that could have only happened with that budget. You could not make that game as an indie at all.
Absolutely not.
It would be impossible. And that is something only AAA can do, and it's something I would not expect, especially from someone like Ubisoft who just makes carbon copy. And the fact that came out at all, I find surprising.
It was for me like the end of Ubisoft, though. Because Watch Dogs 2 and Legion were sort of their last gasps of creativity,
But then Saints Row is a kind of frustrating game because I don't think it does anything particularly interesting or new, but it takes a lot of things and go, this is silly. And it does... The more I played it, the more I realised it did stuff I've not seen in other games ever. Like, Daniel mentioned the police chases. No matter how fast of a car you're in, whatever is chasing you will come up to the side of you. And you can ram it. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's great, though.
At all. Yeah, but it's fun, because you just use the ramp and you go boom, and they just fly off the road, and you just watch this car go off a ramp and explode. And I'm like, this is rad. I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
And a lot of these systems...
You see, I'm just sitting over here being like, you know what? I want to have to go to a safe house and at some point make the tactical decision to fake my own death. And faking your own death is a really complicated thing. Multi-stage process. You need to set it up. You need to make sure it's done properly, because if you half-ass it, people will figure it out that your new identity is your old one. And if you fake your own death, that means you've got to cut contacts and lose all your money, but maybe some of your money you could bury somewhere or something. But if you take it, then all of a sudden you've just created a connection to your own life. Holy shit, this sounds so much better than just, the police, I'm outside of the police, so now everything's forgiven.
What you're describing is so vast and complicated, it becomes the core of the game, not just... And then the police let me go.
Yeah, if only Rockstar had a large amount of money and people making a game or something. I don't know, but
John is
poor bastards.
Red Dead
It's a shame there are only
2.
3 people in their bedroom.
No, you're describing Red Dead Redemption 2 if it didn't have Rockstar's linear mission system.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the game I think.
Which I suspect I would love if we could just get away from the hand-holding missions.
Sorry, can I just say something? The creative director of Watch Dogs Legion, I wanted to give him a shout out. It's Clint Hocking. You may know them because they're the designer of Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, so basically the 2 best Splinter Cell games. Far Cry 2, the best Far Cry, and then Watch Dogs Legion.
Very creative game.
Yeah.
That's a good list.
So that's that's somebody who, really fucking... He's also the person who coined the term ludonarrative dissonance.
Ooh.
Oh. Yeah. But here's the thing, right? From a game, because I am in this camp, I like Saints Row a lot, and I like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Right? They are, I think, the two opposites on the fucking scale here.
I think some of the systems John's talking about have worked in games before, and I mean, I'm going to bring up this example. Hitman Blood Money had a system where, on the hardest difficulty, if you were seen by cameras or guards saw you and survived, or anything like that happened, the later missions got harder. You got more.
Yeah, and Hitman needs some of that shit back. Hitman needs to roll back to
but Hitman, you got to play yourself 4,000 times or something. But then you get that newspaper at the end that sort of started to come up with a bit of an e-photo fit of you.
Yeah, it was so cool, the newspaper.
It was so cool! Because you wanted to get away with it stealthily, but if you fucked up, you then had to unfuck it by going and destroying all the security tapes. And making sure, like, the people couldn't fucking talk if they had seen you. And so it became a much more brutal sort of playthrough, because I didn't want to fucking get seen, because it would have meant that the next level there might be more guards, they might recognise you quicker, harder, disguises would be less effective. And for a game like Hitman, that's an amazing system.
It is, but this is what I always found frustrating, because Red Dead 2, right, the reason I ended up liking Red Dead 2, I think, more than both of you, is I clearly played the game how they expected me to play the game, so functionally it kind of worked. But what you're describing is frustrating, because those systems are in Red Dead 2, they're just not used in the main story, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, here's a bigger thing. My bigger problem with Red Dead Redemption 2 is that I disagree. I think I played it how it wants you to play it, but because it's such a vast, stupid game, the plot fell apart because it was like, oh, we need to get money, and there's me having robbed a bank and walked away with £1 billion going, I could pay for that. And they're like, oh, we have to go to China. And I'm like, what's happening?
But this is the thing. The whole thing you say about that remembering stuff, because in Red Dead 2, right, if just going about the world, just ignoring the missions, right, people will recognize you. You do have to run after people, stop them reporting to the police. You will become wanted, and it will carry across. Disguises matter, changing your clothes matter, how clean you are matters, and people will recognize you if you help them or hurt them. And people will still exist in the game. The problem is, it doesn't play into anything in the fucking story. The story is so detached from that world that it doesn't work.
Whereas in Watch Dogs Legion, it did work. Because in Watch Dogs Legion, you had to then hire those people. If you try to hire someone, viewed off their nan in a car accident, they wouldn't want to be friends with you.
You know what I want? You know what? I want a game where 5 years after it comes out, YouTubers are still trying to do challenge runs where they get to the end without having to fake their own death and change their identity once. To complete the game on one identity, and it's like deemed a near impossible super challenge.
Have you played American Fugitive? There's a game called American Fugitive. It's a top-down, sort of old-style GTA kind of game. But it's got some really fun mechanics in it. Like, you can break into people's houses and loot stuff. But if you're getting chased, they'll remember the clothes you're wearing in the car you're in. So it's not a huge change, like, because you can still run away from the police, etc. Their area that they search gets bigger every time you see them, which I think is always a good system. Yeah. But then, so if you change a car, it's less likely to see the car, but they might spot you in the car. And if they find the thrown away car, then they'll know that you've escaped from it. And you have to nick clothes from people's washing lines and change, and then steal a different car, and then you could just drive away.
Yeah, I just want more stuff for this. I always find it very interesting when you look at a game and you think, how much time has been spent on certain things more than other things? Like, you could go in a map that's the size of Florida and pick a random back garden and think, oh, this is actually quite nice. Someone's put a lot of effort into making this a nice, unique series of assets and a nice garden to be in. You look at, okay, how much thought has been put into how the police work in the crime games? We just copy-pasted GTA 4.
But the thing is,
the
police...
I feel like attention has not been put in the right position here.
The police is a much harder thing because the world kind of doesn't have to change. You could sort of design the world. You go, yeah, we need mission projectors here. Yeah, this building, we can move buildings around. When you get the flow of the map right, then you just start adding in all the detail, and detail's easy. Like, it's not, it's not easy. Sorry, people who do that, it's a lot of fucking work. But compared to, like, if you change the police, then suddenly, how does that affect how missions work? How does that affect just the A to Z? Should you get sort of Euro truck style fines every time you go through a red light? in Cyberpunk. I'm team yes. Because that game should be grounded in ultra realism. You know, there's police on every corner. You should be always fucking watching out for the police. Cyberpunk should be a game where you play it as seriously as possible, because otherwise you'll just be on your fucking ass immediately. Because it's supposed to be this, like, you know, fascist-y state. Give me some of the fascist-y state, if that's what you're trying to sell. You know, and I think what John wants from a game, I think, can work for some games. But I think that the system in Saints Row is fine, because the story of Saints Row is the police have driven up to your door, because you go up to your door and your wanted level goes away, and the police go, no, because you're fucking psychopaths in the big mansion. The police aren't going to raid you. They've been given instructions to not go up there, so when you get up there, they're like, damn, they've escaped.
I mean, I really like the functionality in that game, where when you get to the 5th level of any wanted level, a kind of boss will appear, and if you kill that boss or whatever, the level just goes away.
Yeah,
because they're like, oh, fuck this.
They had that in some of the early ones.
The police send a tank, and if you destroy the tank, they go, oh, fuck this. Yeah. They leg it.
It makes you feel powerful, and that's game systems to the game feel, because Saints Row is a game designed to make you feel ludicrously powerful. That's its whole point.
Yeah.
You know,
and I like that fits into the plot as well, and how the script of the main character clearly acknowledges, I am a protagonist.
Yeah, that's
like
literally
I am the
character.
protagonist, and this is my skill sets.
Yeah, I'm the boss.
I happen to have protagonist superpowers.
We're gonna start in a fucking squat, and we're gonna end in our own skyscraper. And
I loved those little side missions where you do the LARPing, and the whole introduction to that is do not kill people, and you're like, please. Like, don't. And then they change all the animations so that when you do a finisher, you just like play stab them, and they're like, oh no, I'm dead. And like,
it's a really nice system. It's a good set of systems, and it just sells the world more. And so that's why I'm really positive on Saints Row, because I take points off because it's janky. Like, it's janky and it's got a lot of bugs in it, and I've had to reset missions.
Oh my god, the amount of times I got stuck in the fucking style menu. Oh my god.
Oh my god, so many fucking having to reset the game because you're stuck in the style menu.
You know what bug that I found? Right, if you wouldn't have had it because your controller's plugged in, I use a wireless controller, right?
Yeah.
If your controller isn't on when the game starts, or it turns off while the game is on, it will not reconnect unless you restart the game.
Yeah, shit like that. I mean, it came out in a not very perfect state. It should have stayed away for a little bit longer. I know money and this and advertising, etc., etc. Oh, did you hear the Skull and Bones has been delayed again?
Wait, is that
game's never coming out.
Evil 2?
Never coming
when was
out.
that announced?
Oh god, that was announced a while ago. No, Beyond Good and Evil 2 got a trailer after the PS2 game. Like, a couple of years after the PS2 game, there was a trailer that featured Jade and Paige in I think that was the names. In like a desert-y scene that was never from the first game, and it was like, ooh, Beyond Good and Evil 2, and then that's counting from that trailer. That's why it's been that long.
Amazing.
Yeah, but Saints Row, kind of everything I did fit in with the character, it fit in with the world. I like the characters, I like the world. It's a bag of sweets. Like, it really is just a case of, this is nice. It's, not great for me. It's not pushing anything. But what it's doing really well, which is what it's always been my favourite kind of games. I've been playing a lot of Dome Keeper, which does, one little thing, which is you build the dome, you mine, you get the stuff, you battle the things at the top. And it's a really lovely system. It works so fucking well. And I like, tight games like that. And for me, Saints Row feels like that kind of tightness, just on a bigger scale.
Well, Here's my question, right? Because Saints Row, I feel, reminds me a lot of Just Cause 4 in a lot of ways, but I really don't like Just Cause 4.
See, Just Cause 4 is a different kettle of fish. Because I really love Just Cause 4. It's my favourite Just Cause, okay? It's not because it's a good game. The game aspect of it, the taking over of all the towers, all the bits and blowing all the things up, it's a lot more fiddly. It's a lot less explosive. It's to vary it up, but it's not interesting. It's just kind of the first ideas they could come up with. That is bad. I do not like that bit. The story is forgettable. I don't really care for that bit. The islands, maybe not as good as 2, definitely better than 3. But the sandboxy nature of it, the fact you can just spawn a big fucking cargo plane on a mountain just cause, like, it really set on that. And because it's got that pure sandbox, that's kind of, I forgive Just Cause for a lot of crimes, in Just Cause 2 especially. Like, the wingsuiting feels so much nicer than any other wingsuiting in any game, including, like, wingsuit-focused games. Everything about Just Cause 4 is built around the it's a sandbox, go fuck around kind of vibe.
I think the problem is, though, and the reason I like Saints Row is because I like a sandbox, but I want a bit of structure.
Well, yes, Saints Row's got...
Just Cause has none.
Just Cause has structure and sandbox and no intermingle. Saints Row's got both. And they mingle together because the structure helps push the narrative, but it also helps push the gameplay. When you do stuff, you unlock more toys. That's what it rewards you with. It doesn't reward you with, cash to go buy better, more powerful guns. I mean, it does a bit, but it also keeps giving you new toys. Here's a car with a new ability. Here's this silly thing. Here's this kind of stupid thing.
Here's a question, John. John, how far did you get into it?
Which one?
Saints Row.
Saints Row.
I think I played for about 5 hours.
Because I don't think it gives you a lot of the toys quick enough.
I can't remember because I got through it quickly. Well, no, I think I had a huge amount of toys in that early version where I could only play for 2 hours. Which I played for 40 hours.
Yeah. You fucking milk that version.
I fucking
naughtily
loved having that game early and playing just that little bit. Because I was just fucking on and it was all new and I was like, no one gets to see this.
I just want to give some context there, by the way. Dan got invited to a press event, standard. John's been to a bunch of them where they go, it's a 3-hour sit down, right, with the game and you bring your capture card and blah, blah. I said, Daniel doesn't travel. And he went, we can give you kind of remote access. And we've done remote access before. We did it with that game where they wouldn't let us use any of the footage.
Outriders. Thanks, Square Enix.
Yeah.
Outriders.
But they didn't do that. They were like, here's an epic code. And I was like, right. And they were like, yeah, it'll cut off after a certain point in the game. And I'm like, will it stop working? And they went, oh. And I'm like, what's
it only went up to, I unlocked the war table and could buy like the 2 or 3 first properties. And then after that, there was no more missions, so you couldn't progress any further.
But it didn't lock them out. So Dan was just able to just keep fucking around with no one else on that.
Played it until the game came out. It was great.
Fuck. And you didn't break any of the rules. Like, I wasn't in the bar. You just couldn't show it off.
Yeah, I was just playing it. I was having a great time.
I think I just stopped because I just kind of realised that every mission was drive to a place, kill a large number of enemies, then a large number of enemies show up in cars and you kill them, then you drive to another place.
I must admit...
and that happened about 4 times in a row and I was bored.
You're not wrong. But for me, I enjoyed the story missions because I enjoyed the story. And I enjoyed the characters. And I thought it was a nice set of characters. I liked that it was just a real basic, well-told story. It was just a story about some friends and friendship. And it was a story about friendship. Like, it's the Saints Row game was a story about friendship. And it fit amazingly.
I did laugh at it a lot.
I found it really funny as well.
I enjoyed the scripting of the protagonist. I wasn't 100% sold on all the friends.
What? How dare you? They're my friends.
They were very determined to, right from the start, when they were saying, we need to join together because we've all got these skills to bring to the table. Like, there's the guy he's the business one. Like, no, he's not. He's literally as broke as the rest of you. He has no money. His hustles are clearly
but he's
not
just got,
working.
The whole thing is he's just got a business degree. That's all it is. He's not been able to use it anywhere.
I wanted a little more time with the characters. I don't think we spent enough time. I spent enough time with those.
That's the problem with the game. It's not a AAA game. A AA game. No. I think that's the problems you get is you have to sort of...
That's a thing, right? I really like AA games, which is a bit of a wanky sentence, but I really like them.
No, I agree.
I love Crackdown 3. I like something with a bigger budget. That is
that's why
loads of them.
Yeah, that's why the PS2 is my favourite era. Because it was full of them. Every game that came out basically was, you got your fucking... I mean, so many examples. My brain's like, say this one, say this one, say this one. Second Sight, there's a good example of a game that, just one-off game, AA, fucking amazing shit. Absolutely amazing. Like, Psychonauts, is the big one I probably should have gone for. Especially Psychonauts 2 is a AA game. It's not a AAA game. There's no way in hell could be considered a AAA game. It would have been a AAA game if they'd released it with that budget back in, PS2 era, but it wasn't. And I that was my game of the year. And Elden Ring, arguably, I don't know the budget of Elden Ring. I don't know the size of From Software.
I'd argue Dark Souls and stuff would have been a bit smaller, but Elden Ring...
Elden Ring might have been...
enough money by then.
Hang on. Yeah, I think From Software might have just got a bit too big for it. But it feels like a fucking quadruple A game. And I think Elden Ring's the best game ever made. Like, I've been through this many times on this podcast. It is.
500 million. 500
million people work for From Software.
500 million, It cost.
Oh yeah, well that's true.
Including marketing spend or not? Or is that just production?
I don't know.
Because sometimes, like, how much a game
Probably.
costs is massively inflated by ads.
Yeah.
Like, the marketing budget starts, like, being the majority of the spend.
Which is really weird.
Yeah.
I didn't know that George R. R. Martin worked on it.
Yes, it says it every fucking trailer. God, the marketing budget was wasted on Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah, apparently.
But see, you said that game doesn't have any drive. I think that game's only drive.
For me, it doesn't have
I think
any drive.
that game is... It's like... You know how in a
narrative.
video game, if there's... It has a fucking narrative, mate. The amount of fucking
Depends
videos
how you
I've watched.
define narrative. I mean, I've played the whole thing, and I'm fucked if I know what was going on.
No, my thing with it is the game is just like become the Elden Lord, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really care to become the Elden Lord, and it doesn't
Honestly,
give me any other reason to care.
everything Elden Ring did right was all the problems I had with Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild I didn't really like, and a lot of people think it's the best game since Sliced Thatcher. But it really is a... It really is a sort of, you know, everyone's like, it's got such a great sense of exploration. It doesn't, because what you find is a place that is a puzzle that looks the same as all the other puzzles and is basically the same as all the other puzzles. And a large portion of them is just hit this thing and hope you've got the weapons for it. And I just didn't really care. And it didn't really, get to me. It was like, what's going to be over the next hill? Well, likely a hill, maybe some bad guys to hit, and another fucking puzzle to do to get you a blip, and you put the blips in the blop, and the blops make blobos.
Now, hang on, you can level that exact criticism at Elden Ring, because what's over the next hill is always a dreary miserableness, an NPC who's going to die indirectly because of your actions, and a very tough fight that's going to give you a weapon.
Yes! But the weapon is a completely different gameplay style a lot of the time. And you're like, wait, what is this one for?
Yeah, and 3/4 of them are going to be completely incompatible with the character you're building. No, that's generous. 90% of them are going to be completely...
And that's what I love.
If you're not a strength build, then you can basically just kiss goodbye to 90% of the boss weapons.
I mean, I love the fact that you can go through a dungeon that's fucking awful for like 3 or 4 hours, and you could just punch through and punch through and punch through, and you get to the end, and you get given like a fucking faith spell, and you're like, what the fuck? And you know what happens when you get to the next dungeon? You fucking go in it. Because it could be anything.
You look it up in the wiki to check what the reward is.
You don't.
Because life's too fucking short.
No, that is the point of those games. They are not games to be played with a wiki open.
No, they are games you can only understand with a wiki open. Because if you don't go to the wiki, you don't know what the plot is.
I don't know what the plot is. I'll play it a few times and I'll eventually work it out like I did with Bloodborne.
No, you won't. There's too many characters whose names begin with G or M. You're never going to figure it out.
Look,
yourself.
Just because Margaret and Margot are the same person or something, and then... I mean, at one point they do this
Which
big
Margot?
reveal. Shut up. At one point they do a big reveal, and it's like this statue turns into another statue because I did a special hand motion at this special place or something, and I managed to do this, and it was like, this character's actually this character, and I was like, I don't know who either of these cunts are.
The game makes a big deal about, hey, this person, they were in the egg all along. It's like, wait, who's the person and why are they in an egg?
It's the gobbledygooker. So that's a wrestling reference. Wrestling fans just fucking love that shit. But I love that sort of. It's not, the world is sort of a thing that happened around you, and you're just like going through it, being like, yeah. And some of it, if you know stuff, is useful. Like I found out that there's this fucking playthrough, there's a fucking sword that reveals the fucking invisible guys. Or a weapon, sorry. I think there might be a sword. But there's, those invisible guys? You got the invisible guys before you, in the winter village.
Yeah, the black knives, I think they're called.
Yeah, there's a weapon you can equip to see them.
Yeah, I know.
The problem is here, though, everything you describe is like, oh, you're doing something, and the story is you kill a guy and you get a thing that helps you kill more guys in a different way.
Yeah, but
I don't care. The
problem you've got here is sometimes the game actively does reveals that mean nothing, and the game clearly doesn't think they're going to mean nothing. Like, towards the end of the game, this is kind of a spoiler, but fuck only knows, I guess. In one of the later bosses, a character who you've seen before, the Beast Clergyman, is a boss, and you beat him up a bit, and then he pulls off his robe to reveal, no, I was secretly all along Malekith, the Black Blade. I was sitting there like, who the fuck is Malekith, the Black Blade? It's like, you're the guy who was in the church in Caelid, right? And like, he just a proper like reveal of, I was actually Malekith, and I was like, no one has said Malekith to me. This is the first time I've heard of you. I have no fucking clue who you are, mate. But clearly I'm supposed to, because you've just done a dramatic reveal.
Yeah, but see,
She-Hulk did that this week.
Oh shit, I haven't seen She-Hulk this week. Or
No, genuinely, it's like that joke in She-Hulk, except without the look to camera and, hey, previously on, let's have a reminder of this, guys. It's just like, yes, I was Malekith all along. So, who the fuck is Malekith?
But that's the thing. When I go for an open world game, when I want to explore in a game like that and just wander through the thing, the reason I like New Vegas so much is the thing I find is an intricate story that often doesn't involve combat at all.
Yeah,
and there's no reward for
That's
that, and
the
I
thing.
quite like that.
What I find in Elden Ring is a combat challenge, a new way of playing the game. It's a fragment of gameplay. You're putting together all these little fragments of gameplay. It's almost completely devoid of story, but it's like...
Whereas I don't like.
Over every hill, I don't know what I'm going to see. Like, as I go into a courtyard, I'm like, oh, what's going to be in this castle? And then a fucking hand drops out of the fucking wall and scares the shit out of me and comes scuttling along.
Scary.
Fuck those finger spider cunts forever. But, there was so much variety in that game that I got a new, like I said, the last dungeon I went in before I went to the final boss had a new gameplay mechanic in it. In the final dungeon, because every dungeon has its own gimmick, basically. You don't really get the copy-pasted dungeons. I mean, there is a dungeon in that game, which is you have to go into the city, under the city, and there is a dungeon off of the underground sewery bit, which also goes lower. If you go into that dungeon, I think it was that dungeon, that is a dungeon that uses Euclidean geometry, only it doesn't. It's just normal geometry with tricky level design to make it feel fucking like you don't know where the fuck you are. It feels like Antichamber. You're like, wait, what am I doing that's changing everything? You're not. You're just not paying attention to the stairs you're going up and the floors you're on and all that sort of shit. It's genius design, and you just stumble into that randomly. And I never had that from like Breath of the Wild, where I'm like, oh, I've just got to do a puzzle. Like, you never know what you're getting yourself into, and there's so much hidden shit. It's like how the first time I played a Pokemon or a Zelda felt. It's got that feel of adventure, where over any hill could be anything. You know.
Yeah, but it's always...
I wish there was
anything, but...
I want there to be slightly more self-contained stories. I wish more dungeons had their own little thing going on like a vault in Fallout does.
No. I like the vibe. I wouldn't change a hair on that game's head.
I mean, you're not wrong that the game's plot, the plot of Elden Ring is effectively just vibes.
Yeah.
And the vibes is sad and dying. And I wish there were some areas that maybe weren't. Because, like, the game aggressively has decided that the tone is going to be sadness and somber dying. It's like, my character isn't playing like that. My character's having a fucking whale of a time. She fucking turns into a dragon on occasion.
I mean,
like, she's having a lovely time. And I feel like it plays against my ability to roleplay. Because if I want to play as someone who's having a lovely time, the game is determined I'm not allowed to have a lovely time, because the mood is consistently grim and sad and dying and decaying.
I don't think
that's another thing I don't like about it.
I don't think that's the mood of the game at all. I think it's set about a period of change where things are bad, but you can actually change that. Unlike every other game, all the Dark Souls, all the Bloodborns, it's all in a period of everything's gone to shit, and you're an air crash investigator digging through the wreckage. Whereas in this, it felt like this was a moment in time in this space of the world where actually you could make a difference, and you do. And
how? Everyone dies.
It depends what you do. Not everyone died in my ending, thank you very much.
Most NPCs die, and then, like, all the big main players from the previous generation get murdered by you, and then an ending cutscene plays that's very vague.
Yeah. But that's like, it
feels... I just went to the fucking moon. I just basically said, fuck this land, I'm done with it, I'm off to the moon. That's literally my ending. My ending is I'm off to the moon now.
Okay, I have no idea how to get different endings, because, again, I've not looked up any wikis. There's a lot of quests and NPCs that I hope to stumble into randomly during my playthrough. But I love that shit. I love that game. The way it is just so determinedly it. That we have so much language in game design that we're all like, it's just implicitly told to us all these bits and pieces that work in certain ways. And this is a game that just kind of stands out as its own logic and its own game language.
I think you've got to factor in something else into that, though, which is the game is designed for other players who already know the answer to communicate to you through the floor tiles. The game is designed under the understanding that players will be collaborating to feed each other information.
Yes, there is a limited communication facility built into the game, which is a wonderful thing where you can listen to someone's advice and die because of it.
No, but this is the problem. When I played the game, I had that off. Because I just always turn off multiplayer by default.
Oh no, you need to have that on.
In that game.
No, but this is the problem, right? I turn on multiplayer, and everyone's like, "Oh, you have to have it on." I'm like, "Why?"
The difficulty and intuitiveness of the puzzles is pitched on the understanding that you will be being fed slightly vague hints by other players.
That's not true.
I don't like a world that can't speak for itself. The fact I need other people to tell me stuff makes me not.
You don't
like
need
it,
it, but it will make it be a much smoother experience with less banging your head against a brick wall.
No, I think in this one is the one they finally cracked it, because if you play that game, you could solve that whole game without any issue. There will be a few really weird, obscure bits.
You could get to an ending. I don't think you could reasonably complete many of the NPC quests without some assistance.
I think I think you could, because I think trying to find NPCs is the issue.
Yes, because the world is so huge, and sometimes they give you a hint, like Alexander the Pot. It gives you a pretty good indication where he's going.
I missed his last bit, I think. Yeah.
And plenty of NPCs just like, well, fuck it, I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah.
And now they're in an area which, if you happen to have done the game slightly in an order the game isn't expecting, they're now in an area you cleared 20 hours ago and have no reason to go back to.
I kind of love that, I must admit. Because it makes it feel like, because on my second playthrough I've stumbled through more quests and stuff, and it feels like, instead of it being a game that I play once and follow a guide and get it all done, every time I play that game it's going to feel different, and it's going to have that same discovery feeling running through it.
But I had that with Fallout 4 when I played it.
Yep.
Is the thing.
Fair.
Yeah, I love Fallout 4. I'm not going to complain.
But the difference with something like Fallout 4 is the thing I'm usually discovering is stories. And I feel like I'm not really discovering stories now.
Well, you're not. I'm going to say this 1,000 times. You're not. It's not a game that's about that. You're not there to discover stories.
Which is why I don't like it. I don't like just finding stuff for the sake of finding stuff. I need to find stuff for... There needs to be something more there for me.
Well, that's why I like
it. There is a hugely complicated backstory that is very not clearly communicated. And I think they could be a lot more that is communicated.
But it's just something that's happened in the background that you can learn about, but you...
No, I agree with you. I would love that to be the case. I would love, like, after you finish off Radahn, if you, like, say, go and find the tiny mini-dungeon that's, hidden in the catacombs, the far side of Radahn's area.
Yeah.
Like, there could be some hints in there telling you about Radahn's backstory, but there's not. It's just, it's a purely fighting combat gameplay mechanical innovation related to, hey, there's lots of ghosts twatting each other, and you can just run around them.
Yeah.
And, like, I wanted, say, information about Radahn next to the Radahn area.
You find the information about Radahn on a fucking random sword, like, lobbed somewhere, and that sword's in that position because at this point someone was, this person divorced this person, it was messy, and that sword's been thrown out that window up there, and this sword's now down here.
It's fucking adventure.
I disagree with that. There are too many items for lore to be hidden on item descriptions. There must be 4 figures of items.
I mean,
like,
yeah, but the thing is,
having to every time you get given every new item, pause, go into your menu screen, find where the fuck it is, because there's 17 different tabs of items, and when you pick up an item, it can be hard to figure out what it actually is.
I mean, I will say, a thing that was pointed out to me is that when you pick up an item, it does actually tell you where it's going.
There's a little symbol, yes, but some of them are quite hard to read if you're doing something else at the same time, like you're fighting.
Yeah, or streaming.
And then you have to go and you have to find the item, then you have to go into its description, then you read the description, and 9 times out of 10, it'll just say, this is a sharp sword.
Yeah.
It's like, I find that's a bad place to put crucial information to understand the universe.
I was going to say here...
I think more information could have been put out somewhere else. Like, sometimes in the old catacomb, you will find a ghost just sitting on a chair, and if you speak to him, he'll mutter a few words to you. Just a little bit more of that would have been nice.
But I think what I thought I was about to say is that clearly you two want story over gameplay.
Like, no, I don't want story.
No, I want both. I don't think that's too much to ask.
As a reward, you would rather have a bit of story than a new gameplay innovation. Like,
no.
Well, that's what you've been saying this whole time.
I'd like either or. I'd be happy with either.
I want I want a narrative structure that lets me find out interesting things and consume interesting stories.
I want a satisfying narrative conclusion that also provides a mechanical benefit, and the best of Fallout does do that.
The reason I like the mechanics in Saints Row is because it's kind of held together very loosely, but it's held together in a narrative way that is reaching an end goal.
Yeah, but
I care about. Whereas Elden Ring's just like kill them for I don't know, fuck it, and I'm like I don't care.
But I like where you don't know the whole story. When that's a specific part.
I don't want to know the whole story.
No, but when that's a specific part of, say, in Saints Row, I want to know the whole story. I'm the boss. I'm at the top of that food chain. I want to know everything that's going on. In Elden Ring,
I don't want to know everything that's going on. I want to.
Elden Ring, it's attending an after-wedding party where at least 4 people died, and shit's gone wrong, and you've got kind of you're looking through it, going, "What the fuck happened?" And there's still some people crying in the corner you can talk to. And it's got the vibe of just like, you're like, I am never, and they're all drunk. Like, you're like, I don't know how to, I think I kind of get what's going on.
I get entirely what you're saying, and I enjoy to an extent the vibe of, hey, you've arrived, shit's already kind of gone wrong, the apocalypse kind of happened a few months ago, everything's going to shit, and you are a tiny cog in a giant machine, and you don't really know what's going on. I don't know if I want to continue having that sensation in a campaign that's 150 hours long.
But I
think that's not enough to carry a campaign as long as Elden Ring.
Oh, I absolutely think it was enough. But the thing that it also gives you, of course, is gameplay stuff. Like, you'd get these little snippets of story and stuff, and that I was like, yeah, great characters, Margot, Migo, Mogo, and all those sort of characters. But, it's like, here's the sword, and I'm like, oh, let's see what this does. And you do a whip with it. You do the special attack, and suddenly your character, like, pings into space or fires out a budgie or something. And you're like, oh! Let's try this. Like, for a while in my second playthrough, I was dual-wielding shields and just running around bashing people by jumping in the air and attacking them. And that was delightful. Because I realized I could do that, because I was fucking around. Oh my god, I just like games so you could fuck around. But the world, I don't want that in every game. I don't want every game to be like that. I think games, it adds to that feeling of post-chaos. It's like the writing on the wall in Left 4 Dead. That's all the story you get. Is those little cutscene bits where they go, oh, that was a big crash we just had with the total car in front of them. And then the writing on the wall, which kind of explains some stuff, all that environmental storytelling. For a game that is chaotic, like Elden Ring, I think that really sells you. If somebody came around and explained it, it would remove a lot of how that game feels.
So you want environmental storytelling in a nightmarish scenario where everything went wrong before you start playing.
Yeah, that's what...
But you don't like Fallout New Vegas.
Yes. Oh, because here's what...
Fuck off!
Because Fallout New Vegas, I'm going to just say this, is the worst game I've ever played in my entire... No, it's not. But my issue with Fallout New Vegas, which I did play for a while, was I went and killed the guy. There was a guy... Everyone was like, I walked into a place after many bugs, and it's a janky fucking old game. It really has not aged well. It's not aged well. And there's a guy, it's true. Matt made me install every mod under the goddamn sun, and it still didn't make it that playable. But they were like, oh look, these are the Roman Legion. I'm like, what do they do? It's like, oh, they kind of just like crucify innocent people, and I'm like, oh, where do they live? And I just walked up and killed everybody that was there because I could. And that was like...
Yeah, but that doesn't solve the problem.
It felt like it solved the problem. It felt like the problem went exploding.
If you learn about the Legion, they're this huge organization. And cutting off just Caesar doesn't really solve the problem.
But I feel like it proves that it's probably easier to kill the smaller heads if you've killed the big head of the Hydra. Little heads come out and you're like, well, now they're little heads. Like, there's going to be, I'll be all right wiping them lot out. And I got a load of shit and stuff. I just felt like, I don't know. And honestly, the story, it just didn't grab me. It's nowhere near as interesting. I went to fucking Matt Perry, and he kind of just went there and was like, here's my line.
The thing is, to me, what I like about New Vegas isn't that big story. It's going to the boomers and learning about the entire history of the boomers and just having their little singular story. Going into every vault and learning all these little things.
Yeah,
doing everything in Freeside.
Looking at a couple of skeletons and trying to put together a tiny story that happened 300 years ago.
Yeah, I love that shit. And they did it so much better in 4, which was my first experience with the franchise. And New Vegas felt like a massive step backwards.
I think you'd enjoy 3 more than New Vegas by the sounds of it.
Probably not. It was the jank that I couldn't deal with. It's an era of gaming that I really didn't like the
But
feeling
3
of.
has got that almost Elden Ring-ish thing where a lot of the narrative is being carried by vibes. The vibe of you are sad and lonely and everything is fucked. It's very much atmospheric.
Yeah.
Fallout 3 is all about the atmosphere of the wasteland.
Yeah, but also it's not, the gameplay sucks balls, mate, and I don't really want to play a game where the gameplay sucks balls.
Though, the thing with New Vegas is, the shooting isn't very good. But to me, that isn't the main part of New Vegas. To me, the main part of New Vegas is going around and exploring and learning things and
I
talking to
agree.
people and negotiating.
See, I agree that is the main part of New Vegas, yes. However, the shooting is the essential part of New Vegas because it's the bit that you have to rely on to keep you alive.
Disagree.
Yeah,
Same. You can 100% very easily never have to get involved in combat if you just choose to
you can do that entire game without taking out a gun.
Yeah, but not on a first playthrough like I was on. If you walk into a place and a Deathclaw comes out, you're not going to fucking Picard it up and get out of fucking ready room and be like,
well, this is clearly not a good direction for me to go in. I wonder if I spoke to people in the nearby town, they might very clearly tell me a better route.
Yeah, but do you do that before or afterwards when the Deathclaw has grabbed you and is using you as floss? It's
probably
because
after reloading.
Yeah, but then, you know, you're reloading it and stuff, and you kind of go, okay, well, I need to rely on the shooting, and the shooting is not reliable. It doesn't matter how big the gun is, the shooting's never going to be reliable, and therefore...
New Vegas is a game that gives you a huge amount of choice. If you choose to embrace and try to rely on one of the tools that you personally don't enjoy, I don't think it's too surprising you don't have the best experience.
Like, I go into towns, and when I try and always talk my way out of problems. That's my whole thing with New Vegas. It's like, I go into a town, I learn about the politics of the thing going on, and then I try and solve a lot of things. But the whole thing with the fucking Brotherhood in that game is just you trying to unravel this ridiculous political coup. Like, you know, or the NCR being cunts and wanting you to kill a load of people, and you kind of having to go to these places and politics your way out of it and make it so they are fitting in the wider context of the world and trying to make everything as okay as possible.
Yeah, but during those missions, I'm assuming it's like, oh, let's go through this dungeon where there's rats crawling around you have to shoot, or, rad scorpions or whatever. And you go, hang on.
Sometimes. It's generally a fairly enemy-light game.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is there's still enemies there, and when it comes to the point of dealing with enemies, you have to deal with the awful fucking shooting systems, which is a real fucking downer if you're a big fan of smooth, interesting gameplay. It's because
really. There's turrets you can turn on. There's robots you can activate. There's companions you can just bring along if you'd rather. Boone just merged everyone for you, and you don't really want to get involved in that. There's huge amounts of the game everyone is neutral unless you actively piss them off.
I do agree. It's got that jank that it's the reason I can't recommend San Andreas to people now.
Yeah.
I've got a high jank tolerance. Like, I'm going back to Oblivion right now. That's from 2006, and fuck me, it's good. It is incredible. It's like straight in my top 10 of all time.
But here's the thing. I played Oblivion not that long ago, and I felt like Oblivion aged so much better than Fallout New Vegas. It feels... The
quest structure is great. The towns are brilliant. Everything feels alive.
I remember the first time I played it, and I was in, like, fucking high school or some shit. And somebody had it on, like, a laptop that was, like, the most expensive laptop. Because it was a laptop that played Oblivion in that era? Fucking hell. But I remember having a go at that. And you could go up to, like, this guy in the shop. And instead of just getting a menu and buying stuff, you could, like, barter and play the little barter minigame. And I was like, shit. And it's like, oh, yeah, you can, like, buy a house in this area and shit like that. And I'm like, what? And those were such revolutionary systems for me to learn about. And that kind of... I fucking love that shit. But I always felt like...
Oblivion is great. I think it's aged very well.
While the combat is kind of not super great in Oblivion. I mean, it wasn't super great in Skyrim, to be perfectly honest. But it's not... A gun is it's a thing that I get annoyed about when you get wrong. Because it should have a very... there's a direct cause and effect with a gun. And
this is the problem.
Video games
New Vegas has the problem.
Wrong. Well, it's like I always say that the video game Black, as much as it looks boring and it's got a really boring story and it's got so many things that are boring about it, it's the best first-person shooter ever made because when you pull the trigger on the shotgun, it sounds like a train crash. Loads of dust gets kicked up and it's just like bang and a door flies off somewhere.
The frustrating thing about New Vegas as a game is they just took 3 and it's a mod for 3, basically.
Made in less than a year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think 17 months, yes.
That's what's so frustrating about it, because you can tell, probably, if they had the time and the budget, they probably would have done something like Oblivion and had all of this detail in it, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
You're saying there's not detail in it. Like, people are still
detail.
finding tiny, incredible little details.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when I say details, I mean adding new, like, from an engine perspective, adding in genuinely new, because they couldn't change the gunplay. They added fucking iron sights. That's all they were able to do.
Yeah.
You know,
the worst way to aim.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. They couldn't really do much to the core feel of it.
Yeah.
All the revolution in the reason people like New Vegas so much, the reason people is its theming and its writing and its world design. The fucking core mechanics of it are inherited from 3, and I don't like 3 because it's entirely reliant on those mechanics. Whereas New Vegas is going, okay, we know these are a bit shit, so we've got lots of other stuff to do.
I feel like we're just orbiting around the same point. Is that I don't weigh story anywhere near as high in video games.
No, you don't. Which is fine.
And I'm the writer here, so I must be right. Hang on, hands up.
You're the one with ADHD, Daniel.
Hands up who's a Sunday Times best-selling author who's sitting next to a library.
Hands up who has fucking ADHD.
Still the same hand up.
Yeah.
I mean, ADHD isn't like a... I like a good story. I fucking love books, love TV. I'm okay with films. I'm not a huge film fan.
I'm curious. Have you played Disco Elysium properly, Dan?
Yes, I got bored.
Yeah.
It was just too much.
Disco Elysium, yeah.
There was just too much, and I just wanted I wanted the pace to be a bit
faster. You know what I want? I just wanted to remove description. Just give me a button I can click and go, look, I can see where you are. You don't have to slowly describe everything to me. You're trying, because it's like one of Rebecca's favorite games of all time, Disco Elysium. So I sat down with Rebecca and I played it. I got I don't know how far I got in. Quite far. A day in that game takes a long fucking time to get through. I was several days into it, and I was like, it's just not pulled me in. And it's got that writing style I just don't like. But that I'm critiquing just because I don't like overly descriptive writing style. I like light and punchy writing.
I really liked the opening. I love the fact that I spent 2 hours in the opening trying to get something out of a tray.
Yeah.
In a highly convoluted way. I needed to put my clothes on, walk downstairs, and then get something out of a tray.
Yeah.
And that took me 2 hours, and I really enjoyed that. But then, I realised as I moved on to the next task, that level of needless over-complexity, over-description, over everything was going to apply to everything. And then I got I got a bit tired with it.
It's one of the
as focused as it needs.
Honestly, I think for what it wants to be, which is that really richly detailed, descriptive fucking level of, everything's got that level of description that some people really fucking like. I think it's exactly that, and it's just not for me.
I spent 20 minutes arguing to a guy about socialism.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
I mean, there's a whole bookshop you go in. This bookshop, you could read so many bits of the books and things that are described, and the character talks to you, and none of it's relevant. It's just all sort of world-building bits, but I've spent 45 minutes. I don't know why.
Yeah, and then you get all the skills, and then 7 skills.
There's 100 fucking different skills and skill levels and all this shit, and I think you'll get 3 across the course of the game with how fast you get an experience. And I'm like, wait, what this is actually going to help? And for me,
it's very vibe-based.
It's what?
It's very vibe-based. Again, I got to one bit, and I was talking to this girl, and all my skills started arguing amongst themselves.
I know, I like that shit, but I just feel because the writing's really good for what the kind of writing it is, but it's not the kind of writing I enjoy. So it just fell down for the writing on me. I'm currently playing Persona 4, which is Rebecca's other favourite game of all time. And as much as because I've played the first hour of that game 3 times, because it's just so cutscene heavy with no gameplay. But I like the idea of these sort of social games where you kind of there's a time and I'm going to go after school to this shop and stuff. And, I feel like playing that before Persona 5 seems like the smarter way around to do it. So I'm giving that a go. But once you get through every plot point is explained 4 times in a row, really slowly, I think it's all right. I just kind of hit the skip dialogue button a bit more.
But Disco Elysium is almost the polar opposite to the game structure of Elden Ring. They could not be... they kind of feel similar, and they're kind of everything's bad.
I think. I think that is the exact opposite in game design. Game. What's the word I'm looking for? Game, not really design, but game intention. And and what you want from a video
Yeah.
game. And I think that is actually a compliment to what video games can do. Is that you can have these two such disparate products and they're both video games. They're both really well reviewed, really highly praised, and rightly fucking so video games that have and will redefine their respective genres, and that's both under the same umbrella of video games. I mean, when can you say that about fucking TV? I mean, something like Breaking Bad comes out, and then you know HBO's going to be miserable for the next 5 years.
I mean, I feel like I should also need to declare the fact that obviously I approach games from the slightly unusual perspective that I'm very often evaluating game as how good a video can I make out of this game?
Yeah.
And I feel like Disco Elysium is very badly suited to making videos out of. Because the video is a lot of standing still and either listening to stuff being read out or reading it out yourself, depending on whether or not it's voice acted at any given moment.
Again,
and it's a very poorly paced video.
Yeah, on my stream thing, I have stream games and I have video games. And they're different. Like, games that will be for a video are sort of ones where I can add a bit of a narrative or I can fuck on a bit. And games that are more for streaming are more stuff like, oh, let's design a model aircraft.
Stream games have got to have lots of natural downtime in them because you've got to have space to respond to what's being said to you live.
I threw a NerdCubed video away, the Arcade Paradise one away.
You did?
The other week.
That was one that was...
Because...
I said that it might not make it when I sent it to you.
But that's it. As a design, that is a game with a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
Right? That would be great for streams. Because I think, I want to say about 90% of the video is you putting washing in a washing machine. Yeah. But obviously that would work better in a long form thing. But and that is the frustrating thing, especially if you're doing this, in that it is because Legion. I mean, Fallout 4, I love as a game, but it makes a great game for streams or videos. It's a fantastic game to make stuff with.
Yeah,
agree.
As is.
That's why it's the best Fallout game. We can all agree that.
Yeah, no, I think Fallout 4's. I think Fallout 4 is the most well-rounded of the Fallout games.
It's the best.
You know what? I think that's actually a fair comment.
Yeah.
And I realized, because I played it loads more recently, as a singular thing, I like it more than any of the games. New Vegas, I think, is cleverer, and I respect it more, but Fallout 4, as a whole package, I like more.
I mean, see, going back to Oblivion recently has kind of been highlighted to me. It's like, Jesus Christ, I want Bethesda to put more of this shit in Fallout. Yeah. I want more of this interesting RPG shit in my Fallouts. Come on.
Yeah, they're going the opposite direction, though, now, aren't they?
I will say... Starfield, we're now seeing traits and all sorts of bits and pieces, suggesting maybe the backlash against 76 means they're going to roll back Starfield into being a bit more RPG-ish to reassure people, hey, we make single-player RPGs as well.
Yeah.
It's not just 76, promise.
I will say...
I suspect Starfield actually might benefit from the reaction to 76.
In Oblivion, that first reveal of the world when you step out of that sewer is one of the most brilliant moments in gaming the first time you experience it.
Are you actually fucking high right now?
That moment blew
That's
me
not even in that's barely in the top 3 of Bethesda stepping out of the tutorial reveals.
No,
it's inferior to Fallout 3's and Fallout 4's.
No, because 3 and 4's just sort of like, some fucking blown up shit.
Are you actually fucking?
Yeah, it's just
are you
shit.
lying?
Okay.
Are you lying just to piss me off right now?
3, I think, is good. 4, I don't like as much because obviously you are in the world before you go down.
Are you actually just trying to deliberately make me angry? Is that what's happening right now?
You see that when you step out in Oblivion for the first time and you've got that gorgeous water in front of you. Again, this was when Oblivion came out. That gorgeous water rippling in front of you that's the most realistic water I'd ever seen. And then there was this massive hill in the distance and all these trees, and you could go to anywhere. You could go in any direction. You could do what you wanted. And I went
such a bland landscape. It's water. There's a little island with a little ruin on it, but it's not a particularly interesting ruin. There's some hills and trees in the background. Next to the shattered skyscape, the silhouette of the ruins of Washington, D.C. in the distance in Fallout 3, or your own home shattered and broken in Fallout 4 with the washed out, but the much brighter, vibrant colour scheme of Fallout 4. Oblivion is an amazing game, but the idea that the moment you step out of the sewers is superior to Fallout 3 or 4 is garbage.
No,
the worst intro is New Vegas.
The potential there, though, is you step out and you go, look at this lush, beautiful world. Think of the adventures I'm going to have, the dragons I'm going to slay, the maidens I'm going to snog. And then you step out in 3 and you're like, I hope my dick doesn't fall off.
It's and Skyrim. It's worse than Skyrim's reveal. Skyrim's reveal, you've got much more interesting landscape and mountains in the distance.
Skyrim's reveal is a dude with a beard.
Yeah,
Skyrim's reveal, like when you step out of the dungeon and you get out into the open.
Yeah, but you start out in the open. It doesn't work.
No, you don't. You start tied up in a cart. That doesn't count.
Yeah,
in a tunnel, is it? You're with fucking Elon Musk tunnel.
4 in Skyrim, because you start even though you're in a constrained outside, you're still outside. 'Cause with Fallout 3 in Oblivion, you start the game inside a hole, and then you come out, and that's the first time you've ever even seen anything like that.
That's why they're the superior one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and New Vegas, you come out, and it's like, look.
New Vegas is interesting because what you see isn't particularly interesting, but it is indicating, hey, it's a town full of people you can interact with. It's a clear statement of intent where what you're supposed to understand is...
But it's not very interesting.
Yeah, like, I think New Vegas very specifically starts you off... It doesn't start you off, say, in the wasteland, and you have to go to the nearest town, where the focus is on the wasteland and exploring a big, haunting, empty space, which is why I think Bethesda did that in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. New Vegas starts you in the town, because that's where the heart and soul of New Vegas is. Going to towns, speaking to people, putting together stories and missions using people in towns.
How does Morrowind start? Don't you start on a boat?
Yeah, you start in a boat, and the first time you get kicked out, it's into a small town, yeah. But I'm not sure there's that much, there's not much quest giving going on.
No,
I
don't remember that much.
I think it's mainly just, hey, go find this location that's nearby.
Oblivion, now you're thinking about it, I do think it is one of the best. I mean,
Oblivion's amazing. I love Oblivion.
Okay.
I would say, I think Fallout 3 is a bit more visually impactful.
Plus, I think Oblivion also takes a little bit of a step back on needing a really dramatic, hey, you've stepped out to the sewers introduction to the world. Because, of course, unlike Fallout 3 and New Vegas, which begin with a little bit of a slideshow and whatnot, Oblivion starts with the amazing voiceover from Patrick Stewart and this sweep round the Imperial City. So you see the world in the introduction, which you don't in Fallout 3. In Fallout 3, it's a much more limited series of,
you
snapshots.
You spend an hour in the vault where it's quite clean, and you come out to this world that you've only heard described to you, and it is desolate, and the score is just desolate.
The score is incredible.
This is what I've left for. And you just see this world of going, oh god, and it's kind of disheartening, but simultaneously, wow. But I like it. It's got a nice vibe.
And I like that, right, the very first thing you see, you can see the, what's the giant needle thing in the mall in Washington, D.C. called?
The Spire of Death.
The big Washington
Richard
the
Nixon's
Washington
clock.
Monument. Like you see that in the distance, and then as part of the main mission, you take an elevator to the top of it. And I love that, like, it's it's the kind of Ocarina of Time thing. Stepping out into Hyrule Field, and you see Death Mountain, and later you go to the top of it. I like it in a game where you step outside, and the first thing you see that's a little landmark, a speck in the distance, you actually end up going there. That's always a lovely thing. Elden Ring does this a lot. Yeah, like literally the moment you step out in Elden Ring, you can see what's it called, Stormvale Castle. Stormvale Castle,
big fucking tower, loads of red shit over there, big fucking tree in the distance. I mean, that's kind of the evolution of it, really. Is just like, fuck you, here's a fucking country. Go explore whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, Fallout 3, I think, does something very similar to that, and then very deliberately has you facing the Washington ruins at the start of the game, and you're at an elevated position, so you can see that silhouette skyline. I think it's very, very clever, very elegant.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the game openings that set tone. Saints Row is a bad opening.
Oh god,
Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64. Colourful playground. No instructions whatsoever. Just here's a bunch of physics objects you can learn how to jump around and bounce off.
Yeah.
Before you go into the castle. Brilliant.
Yep. Climb the trees.
No tutorials, no anything. Just, you know what? Here's a bit of empty space. Figure it the fuck out. You've got a jump button. Have you tried pushing it 3 times in a row? Oh, that's nice, because now Mario goes, woo, 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 woo.
Do that again. Do it again. Keep going.
Woo, woo, woo. Sorry, I'm slightly more evil.
Surprisingly good, actually.
Yeah. I played a lot of Super Mario 64, right? I had N64, we didn't have many games. About 6 good games came out of the entire console, so we had to play the ones over and over again.
Yeah, but I can just imagine little John sat there on his own, just going, woo, ha, playing this game on his own.
Also, I just love if you just leave the controller alone, Mario go to sleep and just mumbling stuff. some spaghetti. Which he does.
He does.
He just mumbles in his sleep about a lovely dream he's having about spaghetti, which is very nice.
And very racist. Because he's from New York. I'm trying games. I mean, for me, like every time someone says like, "What's the best opening to a game?" My brain, like my PS2 brain, kicks off. And I'm like, Medal of Honor Frontline, fucking Normandy landings. That shit was amazing back in the day. That probably does not look very good now.
Skies of Arcadia replayed a little bit, just emulated recently. Opening still holds up. It's only like 20 minutes long. But like it plays you an incredible song, another incredible song, incredible boss music. Introduces the characters brilliantly, sets the tone. Fantastic, brilliant opening.
Oh, Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, you know what? Fair.
That town, I mean, that's the fucking... Yeah, that's the shit.
That's not really the opening. There is like a little bit before you get to town. That's not actually the start of the game. The start of the game is that house, and then there's like a few... Then there's a little bit of wandering about before you get to the town.
The logo doesn't appear until you've survived the first Chainsaw Boy.
Oh, now hang on. You can't just argue the introduction is up to when the game puts the logo on screen, because many games don't do that.
Well, I just think that's a good way of, designing that thing. Hey, so Half-Life? The original Half-Life?
I
like
that. Whoa. I think it's a bit slow.
Original Half-Life? What do you mean it's a bit slow? You're on a fucking train. It's the fastest you'll go in the whole game.
Very slow. Well, it's just...
I don't know. I just don't like openings where you're on a train and being
slow.
You're basically just being shown a slideshow.
No, there's 10, 20 minutes of you not doing anything.
That was the one. That was the good shit.
I thought it was too long. I really like the Vice City opening. I like the Portal 2 opening.
That maybe outstayed its welcome a tiny bit.
The
original Portal. The original Portal does a similar joke, but gets it done inside 20 seconds.
Yeah. Well, does it?
Okay, maybe 40, but whatever. It's much faster.
I think the Last of Us franchise peaked with its opening section.
Right, when the kid dies.
Spoilers.
We didn't say which kid.
Yeah.
There's multiple kids. Could be any of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the, that for me, I'm trying to think of an open world game, but they tend to all be shit. You got San Andreas, it's like, I'm in an airport, your mum's dead. Vice City, there's a guy like, hey, let's kill Tommy Vercetti by throwing him into the den of fucking chaos and drugs and gang people. All right. And then you got to drive your lawyer around for a little bit.
Original Red Dead Redemption. Show up on the train, incredibly atmospheric, go for a little horse ride, and then get shot.
Yeah.
Oh, good opening.
No, we're all forgetting the best opening in open world video game history, right? Watch Dogs 1 with Aiden Pierce being sad. Obviously, that is the best opening. He's sad. Someone he's related to has died. I don't remember who. And he's sad.
Metal Gear Solid 2, with Snake going across the bridge, the big jump, the thing. Fucking 45 minutes of cutscenes. And then that's not even the game.
I didn't entirely do it for me, but I'm sure someone would say the recent Spider-Man literally just toss yourself out the window and you're fucking web-slinging. You're web-slinging from minute one.
That's a good opening, that, actually.
That's a good game.
You just fucking, you just toss yourself out the window and the game's like, yep, now you're web-slinging. Enjoy.
Yeah.
God of War's not great. It's like, hey, chop down a tree.
Yeah, but God of War's not trying to be that.
But like sad.
No, I know.
A sad way, alright? It's basically Watch Dogs 1, except with a giant axe.
I do like that it's...
Aiden Pierce and Kratos are both really sad.
It is also, it's not just some dude being sad. Him cutting down that tree is him breaking the seal and starting the story off. The first action of the story. It's such a clever way of doing it.
No, I think it's a good intro. It's just not a very interesting intro, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's not...
In the context we're talking about.
It's a very deliberately paced game.
Yeah.
That is getting, I always quite like Subnautica as well, which is a weird choice. I'm not a huge fan of
that game's very mild, to be honest. Like, you're guaranteed to start in the shallows where nothing really threatens you. I wouldn't really say, it's got a very calm opening.
But it's that you're standing on top of top. But there's just water everywhere and a ship in the distance. And it kind of feels like you've been trained in video games for so long to have some target or something. Yeah. But it's all under that top layer.
And then you play the game a bit more and you realise, actually, there are two fuck-off massive islands that should blatantly be clearly in visual range. But the game's decided, fuck it, they're not.
There's some clouds.
They're hidden inside a mysterious cloud bank that's also actually invisible.
There's some clouds. I'm trying to think of anything. I can't think of anything.
There's not many good ones when I'm thinking about it.
I mean, there's not very
I feel like...
many good video game stories, and that's slightly controversial, but I do think it's true.
What's your top played game on Steam?
I don't want to say.
I'm almost certain it's Fallout 4, but let's verify
for me it's
this.
Fallout 4 as well.
Oh yeah, it's Fallout 4. But number 2 is Stellaris.
Oh, I've been trying to get Stellaris this last week on my Steam Deck. I just can't get into it.
I feel like Stellaris, you need a bigger screen than you've got on a Steam Deck.
No, I'm good at zooming in instantly and shit like that I need.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't...
It's a game you've got to be able to tell yourself a story, and you've got to be telling yourself the story of your own empire as you're going.
Yeah.
And the game leaves you the space to do that.
Oh, it's hang on, wait. Let me just make sure this is, yeah, it's Steam VR with 1,107 hours.
Well, that doesn't count.
What do you mean that doesn't count?
Top game.
That's not one game. That's an interface for lots of games.
I know, but it does count the hours. It's Fallout 4.
Right,
yeah.
Okay, so all of our top played games is Fallout 4.
Well, that tells you everything we need to know. Brilliant.
I mean, I did do a massive long series on it, and I think...
Same.
Yeah, we all did.
Several, in fact.
Yeah, same.
Well, there we go. But I think we would have played it even if we weren't doing videos of it.
Yeah.
We probably would have played it a lot if we weren't doing...
Oh, we haven't said
content.
Overwatch 2 shit yet.
Well,
It don't need to, really. It's
we
self-explanatory,
haven't
isn't
talked
it?
about loads of gaming news that's happened. I can't remember.
No, because the reason Overwatch 2 is bad, of course, is that Liz Truss sunk the pound.
In all
And
fairness,
Overwatch-
by the time we're done recording this, we could kind of go back to the BBC News and discover Liz Truss has banned video games.
Ah, no. That'll be a shame.
No, Nadine's out. You know, that's the one good thing. Nadine Dorris, she's gone. Fuck her. That's the one singular good
Yeah,
thing.
but hasn't she just gone to the Lords, where she could also keep doing
She
stuff?
died?
Yeah, but she's not culture. She's not culture secretary.
Oh,
That's
House
at
of
least
Lords.
something.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Hopefully we can just replace her with a llama soon. House of Llama, let's go.
Yeah, we have got... Who is it now? It is...
Jeffrey Dahmer?
Some woman. Michelle Donnellan. Donnellan?
No idea. I don't care. They won't be here long. Viva la Kiss Dahmer.
No.
What's your second most played game on Steam?
Just told you, Stellaris.
I was talking to Matt. But
Oh, well. Yeah, fuck you, John, you piece of
we got
shit.
your answer.
Mine is loading. It's GA5.
Mine's
But that's because we did load.
Mine's Factorio. I like Factorio.
Well, because I wonder, right, because your GTA 5 wasn't on Steam.
It is. I got 128 hours of GTA 5 on Steam. It's my 6th biggest.
But wasn't your code was for Rockstar's version, wasn't it?
I got a load of codes, mate. I play that game a lot. I did a
my
lot of
third most
videos
played
on
game
it.
is Kerbal.
Kerbal used to be
Fallout
cool.
Then I'm into New
GTA 5 and
Vegas.
Kerbal.
Then I'm at New
And
Vegas.
then New Vegas. Yeah, New Vegas is fourth for me.
Try
Then
and
Crusader
guess.
Kings 2. Crusader Kings 2, damn it, and Civ 6.
Try and guess what my third most played game is. I give you 5 guesses each. If you don't get it, I get a prize.
Just Cause 4?
No.
Just Cause 3.
No.
Just Cause 2?
No. You've used
Just
3
Cause
of your
1.
10 guesses. No. 6 guesses remain.
Mate, you've got to get Just Cause. It could be. We're going to feel really stupid if it's not.
I just went for Just
You
Cause.
did. That's why you've used 4.
Just
Yeah.
Cause 5?
No.
Just Cause Blood Dragon?
No.
Far Cry 3.
No.
Far Cry 4?
No.
Far Cry 5?
No. 1 guess left.
Great. Watch Dogs 2.
Oh,
Not
good
Steam.
choice. Why do you keep saying Ubisoft games? They only count on Uplay.
No, I know. I realised that after I said this.
No, you didn't get it. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Well, I can look.
No, you can't. Mine's all locked down. Nobody
Just
can see
look.
it.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And on those go that complete massive
Tell us.
blue
No, tell
balls.
us.
Good night, everybody.
No, tell us. No.
I'll tell you in the next exciting episode of
fuck's
PodCats
sake.
Ball Z.